2023 was probably my biggest year yet. I got good placements for Grands. I got 10th in Global Championship, of course.
I mean, it went amazing for me. I played with Thomas HD. We just qualified for the Major 1, and then we got second in the Grand Finals, and basically just qualified straight to the Global Championship.
Well, I mean, when I qualified, we had been struggling a bit in the first FNCSs. You know, when we went into the last chance qualifier, we were like, we have to win now, like we have to do good.
For this year, there's absolutely a lot of pressure. 2023 wasn't really my year, and I'm hoping to redeem myself.
I think I learned a lot from last year, making decisions on where I should be dropping.
Last year at the Global Championships, my decision-making wasn't the best because sometimes I just did stuff that I shouldn't have done.
Things I've learned from 2023 is definitely to put as much time in as possible. I think the pressure is always high every year in every FNCS and every major tournament.
Well, personally, the pressure on me hasn't gone up. On other people, the pressure definitely has gone up, especially people that want to make it to the first Global Championship as well as Grands.
It would be the best thing, like, to go on Major 1 or 2, but it seems really, really hard. I want to play like really good on all the 3 majors.
The thing is, anything can happen, even if you're one of the best in the game. I go into everything with 100% confidence.
Qualifying early this year would be very, very chill, because then pressure is off. I mean, there's like record numbers playing tournaments now.
It's definitely more competitive this year.
People will play a bit more scary in Grands because there is no last chance.
Getting first or second in Grands is pretty difficult with the big names we have in Europe.
To make the LAN, you have to be a seasoned veteran of the game.
Hopefully I can prove that me and Mongraal, we can come back and we can smash it.
The only thing I really care about this season is FNCS because it's like the biggest thing. I just really want to prove myself.
We have like the best chemistry. We have pretty good chances.
Trying to get to a few more FNCS clutches and win everything.
A lot of people ask me what's better than winning FNCS Grand Finals. Qualifying for Grand Final from the chat. A lot of people ask.
Oh, he's got to be mad at me.
Please forgive me.
No!
Vino's hair, mate. I ain't got a clue.
I think we got Vino's hair. That's King's eyes.
Is that King or not?
I say Queasy.
The top is Veno. The middle is King.
It's a chin. It's literally a chin. Hold on. Vico. Vico's chin.
Oh, it's Vico, no!
I actually don't know the last one. Wait, that's me. Yeah, that's me.
I know it's Thiessen in the middle, and then I know it's Janice at the bottom.
Whose trim is that cooked in Global Championship? I'm trying to think.
I'm not sure. Okay, well I'm just going flying at the top.
Podesai maybe? Podesai, Tayson, Giannis. Lock it in. Oh, mate! Oh my god, I know my chins, mate!
I'm getting 2 out of 3 every time.
I know my chins. What?
It's my arch nemesis, Fanabuka. The bottom one is pink, but I don't know who the top one is.
So the middle one's Malibuka. The top one might be Queasy. I don't know the last one.
Okay, we got Malibuka. I think that's Queasy here. I'm gonna have to pass that third one. Oh, it's pink.
Oh, he's gonna be mad at me. I'm gonna be honest. I couldn't because of his beard.
Oh, Queasy. Nah, Queasy's one of my good friends, you know, as well. So please forgive me.
Moneymaker tape.
Top one is Moneymaker.
Okay, we got Eye Drop.
The middle one is Eye Drop.
Moneymaker on top, might all do Eye Drop in the middle. Who's that on the bottom? I don't know who the bottom one is.
Oh, who's that?
I don't know the last one, to be honest.
Because they're talking Chulex.
Oh no, Seti. It's Seti.
Oh, Sing.
Oh, Seti. Of course it's Seti.
Okay, we got Mr. Savage. Easy. I think that's Reason. But the hair, man.
The top one is Hen. The middle one is Savage. I don't know the last one.
Yeah, I know that chin. That's Reason's chin. Okay, so it's Savage, Reason.
I know Reason Smile. So bottom one is Reason A, middle one is me, and then Hen on the top. That's my final guess.
It's not going to be. It's not Hen. It could be. Is it Hen? Nah. It's Chim's not that.
Okay, it's gotta be Hen then.
I'm passing. I don't know the trim.
Okay, the other feet.
It's Hen. Hen's trim was like that.
Oh, what? I actually got it.
Oh, it was really.
Hen, mate. What are you doing?
Welcome to the FNCS Grand Finals. It's day 2. And you know what that means? It means in 6 games' time, we are going to crown a champion. And you know who is going to join me in this ceremony? It's Leven2k and Minimoney. You get no points for guessing that one. It was rather obvious if you've been watching the action over the last month. In fact, if you've been watching Fortnite over the past few years, Minimoney, when was your first broadcast on FNCS?
It was Chapter 3, Season 2, so nearly 2 years ago now. So I've been around for a little while. Leven, you've been around a little longer there, haven't you? A bit more.
Yeah. I think Chapter 2, Season 5 was my first. I've been here the longest other than MDF, really. So yeah, I'm an old head in the game now.
You're not an old head. You're about to turn 22. But you were a mere teenager when you joined the broadcast team. So it's been an absolute privilege to see you grow up. We're not going to talk about my age. Although my first one was a year ago now, and it was such a memorable final, so I'm hoping we're going to make some memories today. And speaking of a walk down memory lane, can we talk about comebacks, Leven?
Yes, I think it is really important to talk about comebacks, right? Because today's a bit different from yesterday, Frankie. Today we have 1.5x points. So everything you do in this lobby today is instantly just that bit more valuable than it was yesterday. And so the potential for comebacks is huge, Minnie.
Yeah, it really is. I think I saw a little bit of confusion on socials as well. It's 1.5x eliminations and placement. So it's not just going to benefit certain teams. It will benefit a lot of teams that are going to have a better day on day number 2. And I wanted to have a little look. What was the biggest comebacks from previous seasons of FNCS? One stands out, of course, Chapter 4, Season 1, a whole chapter ago, was Merstash and Tayson. These guys were actually in 7th place on day number, or after day number 1, and then ended up, of course, winning the major overall, Evan.
Yeah, that was, you know, a really memorable FNCS, and it was actually the biggest comeback we've seen anyone have to actually go on to win an FNCS. Nobody's ever been 7th or lower and then won an FNCS. So maybe, you know, looking at some of the players on the leaderboard, maybe some people try break that streak today. Of course, below that, iDrop and Mappy had a very historic season where they had a big comeback. City and Cammy have had big comebacks in the past. You know, we've seen people have comebacks in the past that are, you know, outside of the top 10, pushing them way into good, you know, standings. And I think we're going to see quite a few of those today.
I'm curious.
Yeah, the big one.
To see.
I was going to say.
Go, Mini Miner. Tell me what you're curious about.
I was going to say the hen one right on that list right there. 41st to 8th. In Chapter 3, Season 2. That was absolutely crazy. And that was actually my first season. So we're talking about first season of the broadcast. That was my first season of the broadcast. I was like, Hen and Queasy, these guys came from 41st all the way to 8th. And the reason I want to bring that up is because Hen, in the same sort of situation today, 28th on the leaderboard, a little bit further down. So could we see a little bit more of a comeback from these guys today? I certainly hope so.
I think the potential's there. If you know anything about Hen as a player, he's always been, well, he says it in his name, max damage, right? You know, he's a high output player who has that ability. And you know, obviously he's been in situations like this before, not just, you know, in that one FNCS. You know, he's been there so many times where he's had to make a big comeback happen. He did it at the Invitational, a couple years ago now. And so he knows what it takes. He knows how to react to a bad day. And the thing when you look at that game yesterday, Mini, is that, you know, it wasn't necessarily the best of days, but there's something there to work with. There's a platform to build off of where they were able to make some deep runs off the back of some Hen clutches nonetheless. So if they can keep making it deep into these games, but maybe, you know, do a bit more max damage like Hen likes to do and get a couple more eliminations, they could be well on their way to a big comeback today.
Yeah, his name's Max Damage Hen, but we didn't see too much from them yesterday. It wasn't quite a day where maybe you were used to seeing Hen. If you were quite an OG Fortnite viewer, you expect Hen to be jumping in boxes and stuff. They only actually managed to average 1 elimination per game in that day yesterday. Only 7 other teams had less than that. So although they're in a good position, they need to ramp up those elims.
I think someone also needs to have a word with Hen because his name is Max Damage Hen 75. But actually, don't you need to damage someone 200 to eliminate them in this game? Anyway, that's another question for another time. Maybe we'll get to ask Hen at some point. Maybe he'll raise the Axe of Champions and he can tell us once and for all why 75. Now, there's another duo who is known for a comeback, whether that's over the course of a tournament or just jumping up the leaderboard. And that is Seti and Cammy, Levin.
Yeah, absolutely. Seti and Cammy, an interesting day. Many people came into this weekend with Seti and Cammy in their top 5, some even in their top 3, a lot in their top 3 actually. And of course you would, Mini, it's Seti and Cammy. They always seem to do well. They've been one of the few teams this season that have had some semblance of consistency. And so they look like nailed on to be a team that does incredibly well. And it hasn't been that day for them in day 1. And so, you know, a lot of eyes are going to be on them to see how they react here in day 2.
Yeah, a lot of Cammy and Seti's problems over the years have been when they're contested. Yesterday, not contested, a completely uncontested drop spot, at a drop spot they know well. A lot of people would have expected them to do better, and a lot of the time it was just down to solo clutches. We saw one of them going down. They had good surge as well. It was often just other teams that were causing them problems because they needed to adapt to these new Storm Surge changes. So it's not necessarily things that they were doing wrong. Maybe they haven't necessarily developed as strong of a game plan as we've seen from these guys in the past, but I think today it's going to be all about making sure they make it to that end game together as a duo, because we know what we can expect from this team. It's just been a little bit disjointed so far this weekend. They need to ramp it up if they want to find some success today.
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like in general, a lot of teams have struggled to find like a really nailed on game plan in comparison to other seasons. You know, as a whole, there's a bunch of teams I've spoken to who have said they felt that same problem. I feel like it's less of the actual game plan, sometimes a bit of the execution. Like you're saying, they're getting in a lot of situations that are typical of Cammy and Seti, but they aren't able to deal with some of the aggression from a lot of the teams around them, right? And that's causing them issues. So hopefully today, you know, they get their firing boots on and they can start hitting a couple more shots and you know, perform how we expect them to perform.
Yeah, I don't want to put the cart before the horse. There's another one of my classic old person idioms. But maybe season 1 isn't going to be Cammy and Seti's season. But I have no doubt as we go through the competitive year, this is a duo that is undeniable. I can't wait to see how they do going forward. You know what? I can't wait to see how they do today. However, did they make the top 10 yesterday? Let's take a look at the leaderboard. We'll see some duos on there that you know and love and you've seen achieve greatness in the past. But actually, in 10th position, No Kill Wild and Iron. To be honest, I didn't expect them to make this much of an impression so early in the grand finals, Mini.
Yeah, neither did I. Neither did a lot of people, I think. It was a great first game victory from those guys. And of course, us on the desk, a lot of people at home would have been surprised at the fact that they were actually able to get that VR. I think for me, it was just, was that going to be the end of their day? Was that going to be their moment in the spotlight? And it wasn't. They continued to be quite consistent in the rest of the games. And to find yourself in 10th place here, 11, it's not bad at all. Because we often see teams that have a good first game, maybe lesser known teams, they get a little bit too excited and get a rush of blood, and then things start to go worse. But it hasn't happened for them.
Yeah, no, as we established earlier, I've done a lot of these FNCSs now, and we see teams do that all the time. But these guys have stuck at it, and to be the team, a team who came up through the lower bracket, they were actually the team that won the last game of lower bracket round 3. So technically, when it comes to FNCSs, they actually won back-to-back games. If you want to get a bit fancy with it, but these guys have stuck there. We'll see how they do. Obviously, landing towards the north of the map, they're sort of around the likes of Eclipse and Dexy, Queasy and Thomas. That sort of fight at Lavish Lair was one that they were doing a great job of sort of third party in at times, right, and trying to get Surge there. So definitely an interesting team. But honestly, man, I think the team everybody's eyes have been on, Verdil and Reason up in first place. I mean, talk of surprises, I definitely did not expect to see them there, Mini.
Yeah, I didn't either. Even on socials, I was looking. Verdil said, I don't know how I'm in first, but we're in first. We're here and we're ready to go. It was an interesting day for them yesterday. They didn't have any massive pop-off games, right? We didn't see a massive victory out from them. We didn't see a victory out from them at all. But they were really solid in their game plan. They didn't have a single game where they had no points. They always got into that placement points. They always had some eliminations as well. And just the way that they were playing was really, really nice. They had a solid plan. They're not afraid to fight early game, which is something that I like about this team, because with these new Storm Surge changes, needing all of that damage, being proficient at getting that damage done early by fighting other teams is clearly working out for them.
I want to see the leaderboard again, because I want to see the competition for Verdil and Reason. Verdil and Reason didn't get a victory royale yesterday, but they are so consistent in those fights in particular, as well as getting to that end game, that they have really blown away a lot of the competition. However, Veno and Tayson, when I see these guys already in second place, I just feel like it's inevitable, Levin.
Yeah, I mean, look, I sort of said yesterday I thought they were going to win FNCS, and because I just think they're so great. They didn't start the day great yesterday. The first 3 games were a bit, forgettable for Veno and Tayson, but after that third game, they definitely locked in. They were struggling with sort of the early surge, and to be fair to them, everybody was struggling with early surge. Like, if you can tell me, really good teams that weren't struggling with early surge, it'll be hard to come by. But then once they sort of understood the assignment, Veno did what Veno does, right? Veno was tied for the most snipes yesterday, right? With 11, he was spamming that sniper rifle. Tayson was setting them up to play for high ground a lot more, which was part of the friction they were having as a team earlier in the season, Mini. And so to see them actually being able to get in these positions more, Veno definitely rewarded Tayson by then, putting up excellent performances in these types of positions. That win there as well that he got was so clutch, right? Came down to literally half a second. So these guys are looking very strong. They have momentum now, and that's a scary prospect for anyone that wants to even think about holding the Axe of Champions.
Yeah, I was really impressed with this team yesterday. The way they changed their strategy on the fly, they were looking towards that east side of the map for their surge tags. They went more west when it wasn't working out, try to fight a little bit more early game, which we highlighted yesterday. They're very good at. And they're one of those teams that, of course, are doing the damage in late game as well. They're always in that top 3 in those final 5 zones in terms of damage dealt. So it seems like they're really fragging out when it comes to that side of things. I mean, Veno, of course, what a sniper as well. We have to talk about how good he is at that. Thomas HD, he was getting kind of overthrown here in terms of the sniping king, and I'm interested to see how this goes today, because a lot of their damage when it comes to the surge for Veno and Tayson 11 came from Veno's snipes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, I made a bold claim yesterday that I said, I think he might be the best sniper in EU, and I'm sure a lot of the Danish people who used to like me, definitely weren't a fan of me saying that, but Thomas obviously was keeping up with the snipes. Some of the snipes Thomas was hitting yesterday were ridiculous on height. Unfortunately, Venno was definitely trying to match him up there. They're both tied for 11 shots so far, so we'll see at the end of the day who's coming out on top. But ultimately, when it comes to Thomas and Queasy, these guys, I mean, a lot of people were worried about them, Mini. They thought, look, they're contested or spawned by Cringe and Noms. I don't know how that's going to play out for them. Are they going to get to play 12 out of 12 games? And most people thought no. And so that would mean, you know, they probably won't be as good as what we could expect from them. But they're not letting that affect them. I think the experience is really coming through from this team. They're not going to let, you know, some team come through and roll them over or spawn. They're going to show us what they can do, and they've done that so well. Thomas, on these mid-ground layers with the mythic shotgun, oh my goodness, it was filthy, some of the things he was doing yesterday.
It was absolutely insane. I think being contested has actually benefited this team. They only went down off spawn twice yesterday, and they're a team that have just been able to make it to the end game when they do make it off spawn in a really good way. I was looking back at their games as well. They played a game on low ground, a game on mid ground, and a game on heights. They seem to be able to do it all.
This time last year, boys, we got to witness one of the great showdowns in a major. It was Thomas and Malabuka versus Tayson and Mersash. There was about 1 point separating these two at the top of the chart. 1 point separating Thomas and Malabuka from the Axe of Champions, because Mersash and Tayson were the one to take it. And this duo, Mersash and Malabuka, I mean, personally, Minnie, it's my dream team.
Yeah, I think this is a duo that really are looking good right now. They're making good end games, of course. We know this duo are all about getting end games and making the most of it, and they did do that very well. Back-to-back second places for those guys. I think the problems that they had yesterday, the reason why they're not in first place was because they were taking risks. Around 7th zone, they were going for a big refresh. Even though they didn't necessarily need the surge or even the refresh itself, they take these big risks in these fights, and then sometimes, of course, that doesn't quite work out for them. What I do like, though, they're making it to these end games. They're making their consistency, which is something that we haven't seen from them all the time, right? Levin, we've seen them have really good times on spawn and then sometimes really bad times on spawn. So it's nice to see them generating a little bit of consistency, even though the zones were kind of in their favor yesterday. So maybe that's a question mark for today. Will they have that same success?
I mean, if you want to roll back the year and look at FNCSs of the past, Malabuka and Mersash were always a team that was getting a bunch of eliminations, but could never, get, top 5 type of games. They'd get to an end game and that'd be it. Now they're able to do that, right? The back-to-back second places from Malabuka showed a bit of nous, a bit of more experience. And so if they can start pairing that together with, higher limb games, yeah, they'll be rising for sure.
We have mentioned the Axe of Champions, but let's take a look at the prize. How much could our duos be taking home tonight? 170,000 to the top place duo. Life-changing money. And that's not all they would take, Mini Man.
No, it's not. First and second place today will be getting their tickets to the Global Championships later on this year. So, of course, EU has 2 spots for that this season. And I think a lot of players will be keeping their eyes on that. The prize money is amazing as well, of course. 85k each. That's not too bad.
When someone mentions Global Championships, I get chills, boys. I just think of these duos on stage playing out of their minds and making their dreams come true. And you know what? After today, some of these duos will be a step closer to raising the Axe of Champions on LAN. Day 2 of the grand finals starts now.
What makes a champion? A champion is someone who ain't afraid of the big stage. A champion is someone who stands tall against any opposition. A champion is someone who can do it not once, not twice, but 5 times. A champion isn't someone who never fails, but someone who never quits. A champion has an edge. They have ice in their veins. They can't be cracked. A champion is someone who can step away from the battle bus for 2 years and come back and never left. Champions innovate. Champions inspire. Champions conquer the world. Again and again and again. Champions can do it when the lights are at brightest. And they can come from the shadows when you least expect it. Champions come from far and wide to show you how great they are. A champion's journey begins long before a title is won. But the grand finals is the road all champions must take to reach their destination. This is the place where they make it. This is where champions are crowned.
The time has come. The finale, day 2 of the EU FNCS Grand Finals. And today, Takada, we crown ourselves a champion. Over $800,000 to be won, and the coveted spot at the Global Championship later this year. There is so much at stake today.
Every single player in the top 4 are running for the title of the best player in EU. All 8 players competed in the Global Championships. All 8 players had at least one top 5 FNCS finals finish last season, and we're starting off strong. Lavish Layer, a battle continuing from yesterday. Thomas HD, Queasy, can they take it today?
Yeah, one thing I noticed about this fight yesterday is Cringe. He was kind of struggling in these off spawns, and it wasn't necessarily because of Thomas and Queasy. 2 different games down to fall damage trying to grab one of those weapons at the top, which kind of made it easy for Queasy and Thomas to roll over. And I think this time they're taking more of a passive approach going against Thomas and Queasy. You see them disengaging out of the main building of Lavish Layer altogether, moving towards south. There's vending machine that is leading down there, but you're kind of giving up the priority position to Queasy and Thomas very, very early on.
Yeah, we mentioned this earlier, but when playing Lavish Layer, you want to land at the top of the building. It secures the best position for this early engagement, but also maximizes your efficiency in terms of the loot path. So seeing that Thomas and Queasy won the drop, their opponents are going to disengage. Noms Cringe are not trying to risk it all, especially in the first game of day 2. We talked about it earlier, but as a reminder, the points are multiplied by 1.5. It's 6 points per elimination, as well as the placement points being multiplied. Mixon also connecting shots right off the bat, allowing him to get some pressure in.
Yeah, he's trying to help Pings and alleviate some of that pressure. Luckily, he did just enough damage. Ping's able to survive with just 1 HP and a dream, and you can kind of hear the crash pads coming out. Kind of leaves no choice but to disengage, especially from a fight happening this early. Starting on top of the mountain, you got to imagine there's no materials to really continue this battle. So for Mixon and Pings, specifically Pings, he's going to be able to escape and fight another day. And those points are so valuable because you can already see that one elimination, 6 points already out of the gates for them.
There's a lot of thin ice on this mountain, not a lot of natural cover. But take a look at this, Jacob. The battle of the ages, it seems like now. Pink Vico up against Kiro and Kiduo for that forecast tower. And with the 2 elims on the board for Kiduo and Kiro. You know what, let's actually just take a look at what happened, Jacob.
Yeah, yesterday, this was something that's been going on almost 6 out of 6 games between these 2 teams. And just unfortunately enough, Vico go down first. Pink just gets sandwiched between both of those players, Kiro and Kiduo. Does look like they're going to be able to get that forecast tower in this game and an early hot start between that off-spawn exchange. And with the 1.5 points they get this time around, they can easily start to close the gap between them and the rest of the competition.
That's 12 points, Jacob. 2 eliminations off the bat like that, instantly granting you 12 points is a huge change for the leaderboard. We saw here Thomas and Queasy. Looks like it was actually Noms and Cringe who built on top of the lair, but you can see that our game 1 winners of day 1, Aryan and his duo partner, were creeping in close by, so they knew that the third party was getting there and the engagement was no longer worth it. Tayson Veno, a huge end to day 1. Can they keep up that momentum here in day 2?
Yeah, leading up to this FNCS finals, everybody had questions about Tayson, his dedication, commitment to the game, and they were even asking Veno, why are you playing with somebody that isn't necessarily putting his all? Well, guess what? Tayson's just a prime-time player. He shows up when it matters, and all of his experience throughout the last couple of years kind of leads him to be one of the star players. Of course, those 5 FNCS championships kind of helps along the way, and then him and Veno combining. Every single time I see them take the stage, they're just getting better each and every single moment.
Yeah, and if Tayson's able to get his 6th here, it's going to tie him for the most overall FNCS titles across all regions, alongside Mero, Epic Whale, and Arkram, which are all NA-based players.
Very impressive. List of names. The accolade alone, even if the names aren't that impressive, is just massive in its own right. Giannis Flixie, uncontested with Reckless Railways. Not too much change going on for them on that side of the map. But this is the fight that more times than not ends up with a winner, even with a third party coming in. Thomas dealing most of the damage, but he gets sandwiched 2v1, almost stuck in a box. He's able to escape narrowly to try to live, but Queasy's there trying to alleviate the pressure, follow up on that damage that he laid down to begin with. Good job. Another shots could be landed, but instead of going full focus into that fight, you see him doing just enough to allow Thomas and him to disengage and heal up.
Only shields they have are, well, is that Flowberry Fizz. They're even aware that there are more duos in the surrounding area. They've got a bit of damage. They don't need the eliminations based on the risk that it's going to include. So they will back off here, continue farming up, continue looting, but it looks like another forecast battle. Walks Pixie. Nobody with a clear advantage yet.
I feel like you could tell teams yesterday hit the VODs after the day was done. More times than not, him and Vasquez were able to get this uncontested, giving them a huge advantage with the forecast tower. Somebody else, I think, was able to grab it. Pixie and Walks possibly, as Hen was kind of down there by himself. Vasquez was separated, so you got to imagine the forecast tower going over to Walks and Pixie. And so that kind of leaves a choice. Do you stay? Do you continue to fight this fight, especially since Zone is now going to force you in, or do you just try to disengage on out? You can't get what you came for, and so you got to kind of move on with the show.
You can see the duos already on the edge of the zone, kind of on the mini-map at the bottom right. You can see they're facing the players here at the forecast tower, kind of waiting for something to happen, whether it be them rotating back in zone or anything that opens up an option to take a few shots. They do have a few ridges, that natural environment to use as cover, so they are going to be protected. But forecast tower has been given up. Medallion traded.
Three of the forecast towers to kind of grab. Box Pixie gets one, Kiro Kuduo gets the other. So both of these teams are going to have the element of being able to see the next zone before the previous one does close. So they're going to have an advantage in terms of positioning. There's definitely so many other intricacies into the game. Storm Surge, extra loot, materials that you need to get. So sometimes you can't just beeline it.
Looking at Fadil and Reason. Reason has been in this position before. First place after day one in an FNCS finals. But after day two, he wasn't able to hold on to it. So we'll see if history can be changed today. For Tini and Misha, though, 2 quick elims on the board. 12 points. They're in the zone, but being the second one, Storm is not going to be dealing enough damage yet for it to be too much danger, so they can farm up and make their way back in.
And the blessing is they were able to get those 2 eliminations. Even with how drastic Storm Surge has been with sometimes we're seeing 12, 15 people that need to go down before it deactivates. Getting that early surge is so important, but you got to be able to keep the flow going throughout the course of the game. Even if the first couple of zones you're ahead of surge, we've seen teams fall behind at a moment's notice. As we jump on board, Vortexers and Voco, a team that I've been seeing progress and get better and better each and every season that they partake, and even got their first FNCS finals win yesterday in a set lobby. So they're already on an upward trajectory, and they're already trying to third party another fight for some cheeky surge opportunities.
Can they make it their second, Jacob? That's what I'm wondering. Boxed up in a nice position to kind of take shots on these engagements. And look at this. 2 of our top 4 duos right now. Malabuka, Merstash, Fadil Reason. It would be scary to see these 2 duos go into a full-out engagement so early on, but it looks like they're just looking for damage. It's Tayson and Veno, though, in a bit more of a risk situation. If you look at Veno's HP, he is healing up. It's Diox, it's Cade. They're the ones boxed up below.
Yeah, and throughout the course of the day yesterday, Tayson, Veno, they weren't scared to go in third-party forecast towers. They weren't scared to go in, but a nice opportunity from Diox trying to go ahead and take piece control, box up Tayson. Unfortunate enough, he was able to slither on out of there and find himself a crevice to peek through. Veno finally joins the fight after finally healing up. And what they're going after now is those combat caches, third zone combat caches spawning around the map, and 2 teams are going to be granted that combat cache, and this is what happens when they go ahead and try to fight for it.
So far, just looking for that big shot. Tayson with the epic hammer pump can deal an incredible amount of damage if he's able to connect the headshot. But they don't want to put themselves in too much of a risky situation, especially without already having the upper hand on this battle. So as they try and replace walls and try and find angles, it's more just like a back and forth game of ping pong between these two duos.
And rightfully so, Cade and Diox were actually playing pretty well to start the day off yesterday. Even at one point, sharing first place on that leaderboard before kind of hit some speed bumps in the road. But Tace and Veno, they're going to disengage on out, kind of leaving what's left of that weapon cache on over to Cade and Diox. It's going to help their game out, help Metal that they were able to gab, because they land over towards fencing fields, and with so many teams, 3 contested teams on that side of the map, you can kind of see that there might not be too many opportunities to grab Metal, which is the hardest resource to gather.
You can see a lot of the duos here kind of surrounding the forecast tower that Pink and Vico and Kiro and Kiduo have been battling against almost all season long. But with the fight having ended so early on, there's nothing really to third party. Looks like Thomas and Queasy, though, are going to get a free combat cache. Nobody contesting it, even pulling the 4th zone here. They are a bit at the edge of it up north, so it would be nice to rotate a bit more centered, but they've got the extra loot, they've got the extra metal, and now they're free to continue with their rotate.
Yeah. This is, I wouldn't say an interesting season, but this is one of those seasons to where you have so many different teams fighting for history, fighting for bragging rights on their own mind. If you look at this team right here, Queasy and Thomas, this would have been, if they do win, Thomas's first FNCS title, even though he's been so close so many times. But the impressive thing is actually going to be on the other side with Queasy. This will not only be his 4th FNCS title, but this will have been his 3rd duos championship, and every single time, Takata, it's with a different teammate. That just goes to show how impressive Queasy is and what he's able to do with his duos, no matter who it is by his side.
And each of those duos that Queasy was paired up with, it was their first FNCS win, including Thomas's, if he's able to get it. And we talked about his consistency. He has the most top 10 finishes in the world, not in EU, in the world, for FNCS finals at 14 top 10s, 10 top 5s, and 7 top 3s, but he's yet to win an FNCS. So this could be history for Thomas HD. Veno, Tayson now looking like they've secured the Rift Island. Veno, top tier EU competitor, known as one of the greatest fighters of all time. But if he's able to add yet another FNCS title to his name, his 3rd title, it could help him round out his kind of resume as a Fortnite competitor. Giwas Chari now, 247 above the Storm Surge threshold. We've seen how prevalent Storm Surge has been, especially in these grand finals with the amount of experience that's in this lobby. So seeing them already 200 above in this 4th zone, using that lock-on pistol, it's a great position to be in.
And their team, particularly in this zone, they do find a lot of damage. I think they're ranked 5th in Zone 4 when it comes to overall damage dealt throughout the past couple games. But Thomas with Crash Pad, they didn't even hear it coming. Oh no, I cannot believe Thomas does it again. Queasy's just there watching that one go down. And Queasy has to just be smiling ear to ear. Yeah, that's my duo. He just did that. They had no idea.
Are you kidding me? Caught them with their pants down. They didn't even know where they were in the bush, looking lost. Quick 2 eliminations. I mean, that is a incredibly powerful way to start off game 1.
That's just one of those moments where, like, that thing could probably happen. You could get launch stand, but you never expected in a million years. Bevy's trying to fight back. Pressure coming in. Pablo's going to be stuck by himself, but he has the HP, even a knock, a trade on the other side. So it's going to come down to a 1v1. He returns back. He's trying to go ahead and get revenge for Bevy's, who went down. And he has a huge damage lead, and he's continuing to push himself further and further up that mountain. Finally gets the elimination to save the day, and they're really trying to reunite the momentum in which they started off the day yesterday. They even got a VR. If they can mix that up in here today, Takata, they'll be well on their way to the top of the leaderboard.
Look, all these brawls are ending incredibly fast today. I mean, there's a lot of staggered kind of engagements, but they haven't really ended in eliminations. The ones that have ended in eliminations it's been in an instant, literally, from Thomas jumping in the bush to now Pablo finishing it off quickly. Merstash Malabuka, on the other hand, no eliminations to their name yet, but with the position they're in, the loot, the materials, the consumables, they have everything to make something happen.
And all they need is a chance. I think Malabuka has taught us that by himself. Just need a chance to get back into the game. You can make wonders happen. Merstash might have the record with least amount of game time actually played with a Victory Royale in Malabuka's impressive run to qualify to the grand finals. It's not an accolade most people even have a chance to get. Bevy's going to get a chance to get back into the game. And then Pablo got a second chance at life, and they're 200 above the damage threshold. So very, very little to worry about outside of rotating the zone.
Taking a look here, I'm trying to see as we get closer and closer how many duos are already based up inside of the zone. It's a significant amount as they're looking around to see now that the Storm Surge threshold is appeared on the screen. They know whether they need damage or not, as Pablo connecting those shots to the lock-on pistol and now making his way in. Heavy's, though, being so low, it's going to be a deciding factor if they're able to group back together.
Reason of the deal, 77 above. Slowly bouncing around that Storm Surge threshold. Pretty consistent overall on day one. Gave themselves a nice little cushion up until that last game where they did go down just a little bit earlier than they'd hoped. And you can see even with Storm Surge kind of showing itself, they're not too worried about it. These guys experienced almost everything when it comes to Fortnite and more. They know how to deal with the pressure. They know that they don't need to make any risky plays to try to rotate. It does look like they're just trying to gather some extra small fry, any HP heals. And then they have the choice to grapple blade to the zone and maybe even find a rift that is left over from the guys.
That is one of the most important factors of this mid-game. It's making use of the natural mobility from Rift Island. If you're close by, duos basing up on the rifts that spawn on the ground surrounding it. Even the launch pads like Tayson and Benno are using on the Rift Island. But it also causes this kind of moment in the game where there's so many duos flying through the skies, and the ones down below already boxed up will take that opportunity to take shots and hopefully connect on some of the birds flying through the air.
There's almost half the lobby right now just using a rift, and everybody kind of knows at this stage that the zone does pull away from Rift Island, but those rifts just make it so worth it, especially if you're able to grab a forecast tower. Deal down on Surge, only needs 13, but looking to grab that much more. Astral's going to be his line of sight, but it's Vadil and Reason who go down early in game one without any placement points.
Our number one duo going into the day, eliminated before the late game even starts. 318 points is going to be what they're stuck at for the first match of day two. Even with the point multiplier, we know the leaderboard is going to change. Benno Tayson taking shots, but they're more than healthy enough, 320 above.
Yeah, from this stage right now, they don't really have to do anything, make any risky plays except for go to zone. But you know as well as I do, these guys not only how to take opportunities, but they know how to create them as well. As they're just trying to eye every single person here on their rotation path. So that way they can figure out which way they do want to go to try to get that slow side of the zone. Most of the lobby is stacked up in the middle if they were just trying to beeline it to zone. So that right side, the eastern portion, especially when you go more towards the north, is going to be pretty open if you can sneak your way through.
Pablo with 3 elims already. Bevy's with 1. Let's see how he picked up the other 2. Looks like it was Hen caught off guard from the back as pressure was being applied from the surrounding duos. Finishing off Ski as well there. And that's a huge refresh, especially seeing that he was able to pick up Bevy's.
Hey, Bevy's and Pablo, you give them a chance to play. They're pretty consistent. They can get things going. I feel like the only weakness is kind of biting off more than they can chew in certain situations in those off-spawn contested fights. But you can see first place is down. Huge opportunity for Veno, Tace, and everybody else on the leaderboard to move on up, especially with the 1.5 points. You get 100 for the victory out, 6 points per elimination. Everything else in between is 25 teams still left alive. Finally, placement points are starting to get granted and will cascade with every team that drops.
26 above now for Mixing Ping. Pressure gets on as Merstash Malabuka 160 above, but it's going to be Yanis and Flixie that go down. Merstash picking up that extra loot already with the mythic loot, already with the medallions now. This duo looking like they are strong competitors for this first match in the second day of Grand Finals.
Yeah, they caught fire on the second half of the day yesterday. And Malabuka, even though he hasn't necessarily been on top of the mountain winning FNCS championship for the past couple of years, he's been probably one of the most dominant individual players in the entire region, especially when it comes to average placement overall. Teamed up with Merstash not too long ago, but this is their chance to reunite and finally get that Axe of Champions.
Yeah, you talk about dominant players. I mean, his duo, Merstash, had the most individual eliminations in day one at 22. Wow. So that combination is a lethal threat in this lobby. But I'm looking at lethal threats. I see Beto Tayson right beside them. Rotates come through now. 8th zone does appear. A long rotation for a lot of these players. As Storm Surge starts ticking, the pressure is on.
Tayson, they're feeling right time to rotate towards the front side of the zone. You take notice, they're going to stay away from that ultimate low ground. They're going to try to find some layer that they can hang on to. An opportunity to go to the outside. He's trying to save Tayson. He gets the body through the box, but he's still knocked, and that team is still on the other side trying to break their way through, and there's even a threat at the bottom, but I think Veno has been done enough to buy the time to get an opportunity at the very minimum to get Tayson back. You see the just in case, he's dropping the mats to give it extra on over to Veno, just in case he does have to abandon the play, but even trading shots back and forth, Veno is not scared and he won't back down.
He needs to keep holding here. He has to keep expanding to get that space if he wants to pick up Tayson, but as the pressure gets too high, Veno gets taken out. Meanwhile, Eclipse, Dexy up above on top of the Lavish layer looking to hold on to height.
First and second place are now down just at the beginning of placement points. Malabuka, Merstash, this is your shot. Queasy, Thomas, those are our third and fourth place teams as Pablo still doing work here against Pixie and Wax. Gets the knock onto one. Actually, a little bit of help from the other side. He's going to want that gets all the spoils, all the loot for himself.
Little assists from his opponents, but the presents are his as he begins his rotate now. Grapple blade in hand, 58 builds to work with. Does have medkits as well in case he has to stay in the zone to adjust his rotation. Volko Vortex close by. The pressure from above is continuing as Queasy and Thomas now begin to rotate.
Yeah. Barely above that damage threshold. They know it's not too much of a worry, but the strategies they have, go to the front side. Those would be the opportunities to look back. I think Queasy and Thomas are doing a good job of finding those open holes here through this end game. You can even see Flowberry Fizz coming out, just trying to top off the shields. Thomas still moving forward in the zone as well.
We know how much Queasy loves or has loved playing high ground in the past, which is why I love seeing this duo play closer to second height. But there's so much elevation between second and ultimate high ground currently that they have to find that right opportunity to strike, to chop them down and go for it. Meanwhile, down in the dirt, Merstash Malabuka, 3 medkits, looking like they could potentially have that win condition.
Yeah, great use of the Flowbear, and they immediately go to the front side of zone as Thomas, Queasy, they're just trying to go and stay off of that bottom layer. No high ground take just yet. They aren't healthy enough to make that a possibility. Merstash finds elimination on Decade. Pablo getting stuffed backside of zone. Impressive run as a solo, Takata. They started the game in 5th place, and this is a way to keep your position on the leaderboard intact.
See, Pablo is clutching so many points. 2 medkits in hand as he's going to play the heal off here. Meanwhile, he plans, what's the rotation? Where's the impact? Where's the refresh that I can get here as he starts walking closer and closer? There's Queasy close by. Nate right beside him. That's not your duo partner, Pablo. That's an enemy.
wave high to each other before he disengages. Only has a few builds to work with. Trying to be very, very picky when he uses them, but those are going to be two rightfully placed. Able to go in and outside of the box before he tries to make his way back in. Can't take too much damage through the zone. Out of builds. Vortex was in his line of sight. This is his chance to get a refresh, and he picks it up with ease.
More med kits get dropped. Is he going to be able to pick them back up as it's Queasy inside the zone? Is he going to look for some sort of flank? I'm not sure if Thomas is still up. No, he's gone down. Queasy now left as a solo, securing as many placements as possible.
Yep, last of the med kits. Now he has to make his way inward, and he does so with the quickness, trying to get to the front side so that way he can look back, try to defend himself, give himself options. Kiro is going to pick up a couple eliminations, but Pablo, the solo mastermind, still holding on strong. 6 elimination as a team with the lion's share going to him. A nice shot and a nice elimination for Pablo as he gets Merstash down.
He gets a knock. He gets an elimination. It's Merstash. That's up to 6 as Pablo hunts for more. Headhunter right now as Pablo's unstoppable with another onto Queasy.
That's 2 big teams, 2 Titans at the top of the leaderboard down, and this is his chance to overtake the first place. Another knock there on Kiro, and he's bringing it back. 7 eliminations, looking for an 8th. It finally comes to an end, but he's done more than enough work to boost up the leaderboard.
Sanguild, Marius down below. It's a 2 versus 2 against the duo up high. Dexy, Eclipse, they've been holding on since the first moving zone. All they need to do is close it out.
Yeah, they're running out of builds. Everything's going to come crashing down, but Eclipse gets dropped. Dexy trying to fight back, but the numbers game is just too much. Marius is able to stand up tall, take him down, and take the game.
Unable to finish it off, finishing in second, but Sanguild, Marius securing the win, securing that victory royale. What an electric way to start game 1 of the Day 2 EU FNCS Finals.
Yep, and throughout the course of that game, we saw first place go down, second place go down, fourth place go down, and then even third eventually. And even though Pablo didn't win the game, he was in 5th place. I can only imagine what the leaderboards look like, but Marius and Sanguild from the low ground, they chop them down like a great oak tree in the forest, and they put in work to take the game. I can only imagine where they're positioned on the leaderboard now that it's 1.5 times points.
Look, I've got a smile on my face, Jacob. I love to see these AIM games end in action. We haven't been seeing any heal-offs, basically, in the grand finals. It's been pure chaos, pure annihilation in the late game. But with the new format change for Day 2, there's going to be so many changes on the leaderboards, and there's only 3 people that can update us on that. So, Frankie, what you got?
I feel pressure now, being one of the 3, but I'll try my best to uphold the reputation of the analyst desk with these 2 boys, Levin and Mini Miner. I love that high ground, low ground battle. And you know what? Low ground took it, Levin, and that's one of the first times this weekend I feel we've seen that.
Look, we are going to be talking all about Danish Fortnite players right now because the Danes were popping off in that lobby. A big, big dub for them. And of course, the dub for Marius and Sanguild. Of course, very talented players. Players who I think, if you are familiar with EU Fortnite, you'll recognize their names, especially when it comes to Marius, right? He's someone who a lot of players talk about, you don't want to fight this guy in creative. He's absolutely cracked. And they had that FNCS performance that's made you go, wow, these guys are here. A big, big win. And like Frankie said, right, doing it from a position that not many teams have managed to do it from this weekend.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, you talk about players that are up-and-comers, players that have the talent. Marius has to be one of those players on top of your list, and he hasn't quite done it in an FNCS format. He hasn't quite shown what he can do on the pitch, I guess you could say, out there in the on the map. So it's great to see him actually performing right here. It was a nice favourable zone for them, close to their drop spot, but it's not easy to play that low ground, particularly when the zone does pull back like that. You're going through all those old builds, you're going through all that mess that other players are trying to do. So nice job from that team, and you can see a little bit of potential there for the day, because of course it's 1.5x points, so that can jump up the leaderboard.
Also, just because the zone was in their favour doesn't mean it was easy, because Janice and Flixie, when the zone was in their favour not once but twice yesterday, they did not take the victory royale. So maybe sometimes it's harder than it looks, not that you tell from that victory royale from Marius and Sanguild. I can't wait to see the leaderboard for this one when it's ready, because interestingly, our #1 team going into game number 7 went out quite early. They got 2 eliminations, no placement points. I'm scanning it now, trying to see Vidil and Reason, and they are in number 6. They have dropped 5 places. I guess I'm quite surprised, to be honest. Maybe they need a bit more of a warm-up, Levin?
Well, I mean, they were rolling the dice quite a lot yesterday when it came to being uber aggressive, and it was paying off, right? You roll the dice a couple times, you're going to roll not in your favor. And so I think that was a situation last game where that happened. To be honest, I'm just impressed by Pablo Wingo and Bevies from that game. Pablo's clutch. Oh my goodness, man. That guy was going crazy, Mini. Every time I thought, okay, he's done now, right? Surely he's done now. He just kept hitting more shots. I mean, again, Danish Fortnite taking dubs. This guy was going crazy. I think Takata called him the headshot hunter or something like the head hunter. He was, oh my, mad.
Yeah, there was just so many bold plays at this point, which is exactly what you need to do when you're a solo in this particular point. And we know exactly what Pablo and Bevies do. And it seems like the narrative that we just keep talking about, it's just that they're inconsistent. But you can see, if they're able to do this more often than not today, this could be our FNCS champions. We could be looking at a potential FNCS champion after a season to forget almost for this duo when it comes to off-spawn contestation, early storm surge problems. But it seems like it's all coming together now, right at the perfect moment.
Dare I say it, boys? But the way that Pablo was running through those layers, it really reminded me of Veno, and the way that Veno likes to play those endgame clutch situations when he's on his own. He is literally take no prisoners, just take all the names you can get, Levin.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll give Pablo his props. He's someone who has shown he can pop off in the past, right? I think it's funny, Minnie, because, you know, if Pablo and Bevy stay here and they win the FNCS, they'd be the first Danish players to ever win it. And I mean, it would be, Thomas HD, I think, would probably be crying inside if that happened. But I do want to talk about Thomas because we saw a really interesting play, and it's something that we've seen a lot from teams this season. And what a lot of the players have been calling it, they've been calling it crash pad bombing. Because what you do, right, is you line up a team, you know a team somewhere, and you set up the crash pad so you land perfectly on them, and you do this. And I mean, I was freaking out when this was happening. Minnie and Frankie were both freaking out. And I mean, how could you not? It's really interesting. A lot of players have been doing this because if you're the player on the receiving end of that, you actually don't hear that team coming. Like, you literally don't see it or hear it coming at all. And so it's like a really crazy surprise play. We've not seen much of it on screen, but I'm glad we got to see it once because a couple teams have been playing around with it. See Thomas combining it with the Flowberry Fizz, which was nice. It gave him a bit extra distance. But yeah, Queasy and Thomas still are going to be a threat today for sure.
Yeah, and it's exactly the type of player that you want on the other end of that Flowberry crash pad, right? You want it to be Thomas HD getting into that bush, not just seeing the team in there, you're also hitting a max damage, 173, whatever that was, then connecting with the assault rifle shots, hitting double headshots on the next player. That was absolutely spectacular. And we talked about how good Thomas HD is and has been this season in that duo. So although that game wasn't necessarily the best for them, even though it was a nice zone for them, I'm expecting big things from this duo because when you got someone on your team that can pull that out of the hat, anything can happen.
The more Danish players, the better. I do want to propose something though, boys. Can we call that move the baby bouncer? Because they're on the junior crash pad.
No, we're not.
So like you grab your baby bouncer, bounce into the...
Should we just call it the Flowberry crash pad?
Or the baby boomer. You jump on the baby crash pad and then you
can do
boom.
it without the Flowberry. People do it without the Flowberry as well. You can just do it with the crash pad. If you line it up and you sprint jump, it's like 190 meters. It still works. So, yeah.
Do we need a name for it? Can it just be crash pad onto someone's head, into max damage pump, into elimination?
Baby boomer.
If you want to say that every time, Minnie, feel free to say that.
You jump on the baby and then you boom shakalaka into their faces. Just like we're boom shakalaka into ring. Game number 8. Take it away, Jacob and Takata, please.
Look, that was a whole lot of yapping, Jacob. But what I'm interested in is game 2 of the EU FNCS Grand Finals. Explosive start to the day. Pablo, I mean, Headhunter, what did we witness in that late game?
We witnessed somebody steal the show, ended up in a 3rd place, from 5th to 1st after that huge solo clutch. If any time is to look back at a moment and say that is why he won FNCS, that's a big if. Don't want to curse him too early. That is the moment right there. Will we have more clutches with the next game ready? We'll see.
You said it, Jacob. Pablo Bevies, 1st place on the leaderboard now. Merstash Malabuka in 2nd. Queasy Thomas HD in 3rd. As now instantly right back into the action.
I feel like every single game today, we might have a different 1st place team. I feel like that's the trend. The 1.5 points, with how well everyone's playing. It's not just one team playing well. Everyone is playing lights out in this competition. So you got to think fights like this, no matter how well you did in that last game for Queasy Thomas, are never going to come easy. And we're even seeing the ballistic shield coming out from Thomas. Doesn't have any close range, so it could be the play for him, especially with Queasy going down off spawn.
Thomas needs to get ballistic here, but he's unable to. Eliminated off spawn, off the drop. From third place on the leaderboard to now 0 points in game 2. Levin was talking about it, Mini. Could Pablo Bevis be the first? One of the first, Danish players to secure an FNCS title before Thomas HD with his history of the most top 10s, 7 top 3s yet to get that FNCS. That would be a script and a half.
Definitely would kind of be a huge treat. Just like this opportunity here to see the replay of Mongraal and Savage. We saw this highly contested fight 6 out of 6 games throughout the day yesterday, and Savage taking the fight to them, breaking through the door even to go ahead and give Mongraal and him a nice opportunity to play this game out.
Now, yesterday we did say there was 3 duos contesting fencing fields. However, it seems they don't really take those early engagements, unlike Tina and Misha. Sorry. It looks like they're going to right off the bat eliminate Skydune. Quick 6 points, and his duo Shakoth now on the run.
Yeah, and I would say typically Teeny and Misha are trying to chase it down, but I don't see crash pads. I don't see grapple blades. Even with a few Flowberry Fizz in his inventory, you kind of don't want to waste those when you can't really close the distance. So great awareness of the situation for Teeny and Misha. Just disengage, continue looting up, grab the resources, let those eliminations come to you later on. You don't want to risk it for just those 6 points, Dakota. There's 100 points up for grabs for placement alone. You needed that. You needed about 10 elims with a win yesterday just to score 100 points. Now it's just that much easier.
It really is. And for Ping and Mixon, we're up on the snowy hill now. They do have that launch pad that they can use to maximize efficiency on their loot path. But it's all about preparation. As look at that. His duo partner now jumped on. Instant need for assistance. Ping manages to get the knock. It's on Nathan. CZZ gets sniped as well. The 2v1 continues.
Yeah, Mixon Pings. They were at the top of the leaderboard for most of the day yesterday as well. And you can see why these great scenarios that they're putting themselves in, especially with that sniper in the hands of Mixon. And we've seen it. We talked about Thomas. We talked about Venno. There's a lot of good snipers going under the radar this season, and this is a great opportunity to highlight those snipers.
I mean, they're devastating. You can think of players, Venno, Thomas HD, King, any of these players with a sniper in hand, turns them into the Reaper. One shot is all it takes to turn the, not just tables around, it could turn your whole game around. As Vico Pink, Kiro Kiduo, once again, the battle continues.
This time around, they're at least able to get one, kind of toss it back in their favor. And even though they're battling it out yesterday, it was back and forth, back and forth. Nobody really able to find their stride between the two teams, even third parties interrupting it at one point or another. Speaking of Vico on the hunt, Kiro's going to get spotted out. Shield's going to get dropped. Peak almost getting dropped himself with a trade. But Kiro's finally going to go down, which gives it all over to Pink and Vico and possibly the forecast tower as well once they make their way over.
Look, that's 1-1 for day 2. Kiro Kiduo took the battle in the last match. But the question is, the players in the surrounding areas, they're looking at the feed. They know this engagement's going on. And they might use that information to try and take the forecast tower from them. So hopefully Pink and Vico will be able to aim that as they did come out on top in the fight. But we'll take a look at another one going on here. Cringe and Noms kind of scouting out what's going on down here by the Reaper van. Robin Madax. But so far they're just kind of, you know, chilling in their own boxes. Nothing happening yet. Both crouched. Maybe they're trying to like fake them out, pretend they've already left, but it's going to be long before anything happens there. Reason to deal, though. Not a great game one, not a great start to day two. And if Reason gets knocked down here, it could be devastating.
Huge flank, third party by Andalex and Sato. And immediately, look at the minimap. They got their surge. Trying to disengaging. Mox, Lazen are there as well. Everybody just trying to rotate on out, maybe even follow the train towards the zone. We haven't necessarily seen it on stream, but throughout the day yesterday, there have been teams using that train to rotate in as deep to the center of the zone as possible. And we're really seeing things and a lot of the tricks come out as Yanis Flixie going against Pink and Vico. They saw the fight in the feed and they're ready to end it in favor of themselves. Vico dropped down to just a sliver of HP, and the persistence is there from Flixie. He even has the card. He's just trying to make his way in to capture it. But I think Pink and Vico are doing a good job of defending the terminal.
This is exactly what we talked about. Yanis and Flixie capitalizing on knowing that Pink and Vico just came out of an engagement, are most likely not that healthy, might not even be around the forecast tower, which is why they were able to get that card. But the thing is, they're not the only duo that's interested. You saw Tayson as well. Benno kind of saying, do we join this party? We weren't invited, but we might be able to sneak in as Yanis and Flixie quickly see the danger and decide, you know, we've already got the tower. It's been secured. We don't need those eliminations. We don't need to risk anything else.
That's just literally quick thinking by Yanis and Flixie to be able to see that in the feed and then rotate straight on over to take control before Pink and Vico can actually get back on over there from their contested fight. And this is something that we've seen out of Yanis and Flixie, the ability to adapt on the fly. Flixie even getting his first VR in the finals lobby. They're just upward trajectory from there. They just need to have that solid performance here today to really cap it all off. And for Yanis, that'll be another FNCS champion. For Flixie, it's finally being able to put some respect on his name.
Benno now looking to see what has gone wrong in this forecast battle, trying to see if he can maybe find a bit more information. He does have 32 shots inside of that Reaper sniper rifle in the chamber, ready to let loose. But so far, unable to see much. They're just going to continue with the rotate. Almost max materials. Good loadout already with mobility and 3 big pots.
Just looked like their original plan there was kind of disrupt that forecast tower fight, but too many players already did just that. I saw it in the feed. Production read my mind. Bebies goes down. Pablo's got the feeling of deja vu on the solo yet again. It's Marius and Sangil, the same team, made it towards the end, won that last game, and was a huge part of making sure Pablo did go down. But it does look like he's going to be able to escape for now. Nobody's hot on the chase just yet, but he has to be careful because he is on the edge of zone. Teams are beginning to rotate in that direction. You see 2 already on the minimap, a 3rd following the train. So Pablo has to really think outside of the box of when and where he's going to go back for Bevy's reboot card, because we know 100% Jacob guarantee that we'll see Bevy's back in this game sooner or later.
Look, I'm going to ride your boat. I got the confidence as well, especially from what we saw in the last match. Tino, Chapix. I don't know if this is going to be a full-on engagement, Jacob, but it could just be, actually. Tini goes straight off to Chapix, cracking him. Only left with 1 HP. Tino gets knocked. Upper hand now for Misha and Tini. The 2v1. Will they be able to close it out? They do.
Wow. Chapix went for the repeat. I can see what he's thinking in his mind. You know, they're going ahead, getting that elimination onto my teammates. Scouting up to loot. I can at least get 1 freebie, but he gets denied that opportunity. Free trip back to the lobby. Benno Tayson. A fight that I thought they were going to take a
You want to wait till you have a high chance of coming out on top in whatever risky scenario you want to get yourself into. I do feel bad for
Quickly trying to build. Hard for Aqua and Noah to rotate their way in. So interesting to see what decision they make. I know if they keep going towards the east, they might be able to use the line of sight of the mountain to their advantage.
3 bullets in the chamber. All it takes is one. Can Aqua connect that headshot that they might so desperately need with Noah already being incredibly low on shield? Not much to recuperate. Walks Pixie, connecting one. These snipes can be incredibly beneficial in terms of getting that damage you need for the Storm Surge threshold. If you have that ammunition to spare, the extra sniper bullets to help you take more of those shots, it could be a game-changing factor of getting enough damage.
Yeah, huge blessing that Hari was able to kind of go back to that cache that was literally just 2 boxes behind. So nice damage in terms of the sniper, but not really going to be able to notice it on the next rotation. Now he's going to get all shielded up. The deal Reason in a tough spot not too long ago. Finally able to kind of bounce back. Now they set their eyes on the Seti and Cammy. But they know at least one of these players is weak, and they're attacking from 2 different angles. The deal just trying to go straight in from the low ground. Reason working his way from the top to bottom. Finally, they reunite, and they're able to get one. Cammy gets dropped down, leaving Seti by himself. The struggles for our global invitational champions continue.
Seti put him to panic now as he's forced into the 1 versus 2. It looks like Reason isn't done yet. It's Mongraal close by that wants to escape, but he's been cracked now. Just going to take 2 more shots, 2 big ones from that frenzy to finish it off. As now nowhere to run, nowhere to escape. And that's another Elim on the board for Vidil and Reason.
6 more points, starting to pick up the pace. Game 7 of the overall tournament, which was game 1 on the day. A little bit of a misstep, and sometimes, especially with 1.5 points, that one misstep is all it takes to cost you that first place spot. So they're really gonna have to dig deep and make up for it. Marius Sandguild, top of Loot Island, along with one other team, but you can see they're trying to just loot up, scrap together as much as they can. It's actually Phaser and King who are gonna get credit for capturing the Rift Island. No points, they're gonna be the ones to scavenge all that loot that they just were able to get.
Didn't have the best start to day 1. But if I know anything about King, he can turn things around, especially with the sniper in hand. For Pablo, though, has been unable to pick up bevies yet. He is still looking healthy, but the clock's ticking. 30 seconds until this 4th zone closes and 5th appears. And with 2 duos in a battle in front of him, he might find an opportunity to take that snipe, get that headshot, but he's unable to connect the first bullet.
Hey, persistence is key. He does have the 3 medkits as well, but this is vital information because there's only X amount of teams still left in this lobby, 36 overall, him being one of them. And with the rotations coming out, if he was able to get the reboot card, he could outlast the zone, get Bevies back in, because I predicted Bevies to be back. I thought he'd be back by now, but Pablo just leaving us in suspense a little bit longer, trying to go for a couple more snipes, but crash padding as Darky and Darkest to make their way on out. And finally, Pablo sets his eyes on that reboot.
Said it's time. Brings his duo back in. It's difficult though, Jacob. Grand Finals lobby, 400 metal to work with, barely any wood or brick, and now having to rotate in, having to loot up his duo partner. I believe he did have 3 medkits and 3 big pots, so they have a decent amount of consumables, but they will be used to get bevies back into the game. They're going to need a refresh early on, but anything's possible as we look right back at the deal and Reason.
Traveling on the congested side of zone, Swizzy, Putrix, the ones directly in their line of sight, but you can see in the minimap, so many teams littered around this same rotation, trying to find their way in. In a couple of seconds, zone's going to force them in anyway, as Swizzy and Putrix still trying to get the last of the shots before they make their rotation on out. And it's not too far of a rotation for a lot of these teams. When you're rotating parallel with a lot of them, that's where it gets disastrous. Is Pablo, Bevies finally up. They have the high ground, but they're down on Surge. With everybody rotating, this is a great chance for them to pick up some shots here.
One shot, Jacob. One shot is all it takes. And there it is, 116 from Pablo. It should be enough to bring him above, 62 above now. It's not going to be enough for the rest of the match, but it's going to be enough to hold on here just a bit longer. Only a shotgun and sniper in hand as Bevies has taken the AR. Medkits being split up, ammunition being split up as they continue now to hunt for another shot.
They're doing just enough to stay ahead of the curve. 62 above, but Veno, Tayson under pressure. Noah, Aqua going to be the ones on the other side. Out of zone, no HP. Veno gets dropped again. It's going to put a lot of pressure on Tayson. Medkit getting canceled. Noah goes in, but he gets sent right back on out, leaving Aqua by himself. But Tayson is running out of time. This is a 2-tick. Now or never for the Medkit. With 1 HP left, he finally gets it off to try to keep himself alive. But Aqua is still knocking on the door on the other side. He finally is disengaged. I think they realize this is almost a no-win scenario for both of these teams if they don't get out. And he actually goes down. The medallion gets dropped. Aqua and Noah are out.
With a sliver of HP, literally 1 for Tayson. He gets the medkit off in time, and with that, out heals Aqua to finish him off. But now with Veno being eliminated, Tayson being outside of the zone, he has a launch pad he can use to get back in. Not even sure if he has time to loot up Aqua. Let's see what happened to Bevies and Pablo, though.
All right, so Pablo's already down. Just a much-needed elimination. You said it as well, kind of when it was happening, even though Bevies is back, they're going to need a refresh. Look at his loot. If he doesn't have ammo, he doesn't have materials, using all of his heals. Pablo, lucky enough, before going down, was able to kind of gather up enough shots to Surge. But now he has to return the favor and have a big solo clutch opportunity. Unless he pulls a Malibuka and tries for the reboot a second time.
I was going to say, we saw it happen in the semifinals. And I believe it was actually in the late game, Merstash picked up Malibuka and they almost traded themselves, leaving him as a solo to finish it until he picked him back up again. But that's going to be difficult here for Bevies. He is 231 above, though. No minis, 11 wood, 1 build. This is really something where you need a miracle, a blessing to come out of.
Yeah, he's just trying to rotate, get next to a team, but not too close to where they're going to push him. He needs to make himself kind of look like a duo. If they spot him out of the solo, they're going to go. Cade, Diox fighting towards the backside of the zone, getting smushed further and further back, but they're actually going to get granted the zone as the next one does pull over in their direction. Nice opportunity for Bevies to hit a shot, but he is just in shambles, getting ping-ponged around the lobby, not really able to decide what he wants to do at almost any given moment. Oh, man.
3 builds now, all metal. If that duo that took shots pursues him, it could be the end of Bevies. Tayson, though, 30 below. No duo partner to help him with damage. It's all up to him. One of the Fortnite GOATs. Is he able to do it? Surge just gets the better of him. As now Bevies, 197 above, 14 HP, 2 builds, and a dream.
14 HP. All you need to do is at least have 1 HP. Be able to stay alive. Common sense. He's just outside the edge of zone as well, but he can immediately go back in. You see a lot of the builds that are going to be recyclable for a situation like this. It's all about what happened after, because you see him down low, kind of in a trench between 2 of the biggest mountains in the zone right now. If it pulls to either one, that's what I'm going to continue to get a little scared for Bevies, but one team needs to go down, and he'll at least start to collect those placement points.
Malibuka looking to see if he can connect the shot here. AR in hand, hits 2, hits 3. 1 more needed to get the knock on Pixie, but it helps with the damage. Now, 27 above, 94 with the hits. Can they hold on, though? Just 19 seconds left until this zone closes.
Malibuka, Merstash, they don't really have to do much. They're not the highest elevation, but they do have the natural mountain behind them. So lessens the chance of somebody being able to break into the box, but mixing pings a whole different side of that Storm Surge threshold. Not going to be a ton, but 34 below. Not very
There's
many
no way.
opportunities there. So we look at an opportunity here. Bevy. Oh my gosh! The Reaper sniper, no scope, not no quick scope at close range. Talk about getting back into the game. Bevies has finally done it. And with the massive solo clutch the game prior by Pablo, this is his chance to return the favor. And now Pablo won't be able to hold it over his head if they win.
Bevy's inventing new words with that headshot snipe. 3 now on the board. Will this be history once again? A solo clutch. He has the damage from that headshot. He has the loot, and now back up 120 builds. More than enough materials to clutch it out. Only thing you could even ask for is a bit of shields. But there is potential to make something happen.
And this is perfect situation in terms of zone. It's a far pull for everybody in the lobby. So there's not going to be great and too many opportunities for people to just sit back, camp, wait for zone, and try to target out a solo like Bevies. He just needs another one of these far pulls. He'll be A-okay as the rest of the lobby finally makes their way in. Placement points being gathered with every team that goes down. Oh, but Bevies goes down himself. That's Vico who went in. But Pink got lost along the way. So another solo opportunity in the form of Pinko coming up soon.
See how it happened. Bevies even built 4 boxes. It seemed to be the safer play, but with his roof, his cone replaced, he did go down. Ping Mixon, though, 4 wins on the board. Just like that, an extra 24 points going into this end game. 3 medkits to work with, 3 bigs. They're already ahead of zone as well. They can't even recuperate what they've used here. Question is, what do they want? Do they want to elevate themselves more? What layer are they playing for? So far, I'm trying to see as well who might be peaking for that high ground. It is 9th zone. It's the first moving, and it commences.
Yeah, what they're doing, you can see it. Peeking through the cone, gathering information, but gives them flexibility and options. Do I stagger myself? Do I continue to stay towards the front side? Depending on what they see here is going to give them that answer. As Mustache bumbling a little bit, trying to make it on over to Malibuca as players cut off his path with the grapple blade, but no harm, no foul, able to reunite into the same box. Voco and Vortexers having to do the same thing, but 21 below the damage threshold. The quick fadeaway shot coming out from Voco is going to get him above, but he takes a shot himself, trying to reunite with Vortexers, so that way they can try to heal up as best as he can.
Big pot getting put to good use. Vortex's Voco looking to continue strong. It's going to be Reason. Badil trying to make a comeback from that game 1. They have the high ground. Can they hold on?
Question we're going to be asking ourselves, 364 above, but almost every game so far, no matter if it was early in the 9th zone, late in the 11th zone, somebody usually tries to threaten to take over that high ground, claim it for themselves. Mixon 195, plenty of builds to work with, but he is going to be a solo, spot somebody right in front, quick reaction to turn around, and once again, grapple blade to the front side of the zone, being able to recycle some of these builds and save it for when he needs it most.
Mixon has to clutch it up. He has that Mythic Frenzy. He has a good amount of builds, even ahead of zone. With those 3 medkits, the potential to play back and slow when he runs out of materials. Mustache Malibuca, though, showing their dominance with 3 elims. Issue is, they could use a bit more materials, but they're more than healthy for the rest of the zone.
Yeah, but this consistency is absolutely insane for Malibuca and Mustache. They're slowly but surely moving up the leaderboard, which is hard to say because they're already at the top of it. Started in 3rd place on the day, slowly but surely taking over other spots. Vortexers lost Voco. You saw his shields get dropped not too long ago, so now Vortexers left by himself, trying to grapple blade once more to the front side of the zone. Ends up almost getting boxed up, but it doesn't matter. Marius and Sangil, 2 shots are better than 1. Take him down.
Wanting to get the back-to-back VR as Badil Reason still up strong above. Marius Sangil now trying to build up as this zone does pull towards a ridge. They cannot get trapped here. They need to elevate themselves as quickly as possible, but as all duos have the same plan in mind, they get trapped together on the journey up the hill. As his duo partner Sangil goes down, so does Marius.
Yeah, he tries to backtrack in his zone. That was 2 different teams that took part in eliminating that one. And Shari, Gear is trying to go ahead and get a flank on Analex and Sato. So far, it's working to fruition, but they immediately drop down low. Find a shot on a Nev, but I think iDrop was able to scoop him up before the elimination actually went through, saving the loot for himself, but another traded shot going off. Hari is doing his best to go ahead and dominate the lobby, but he finds a medkit towards the backside. He's going to allow himself to stagger backside his zone.
It was Malibuca who got eliminated, as now zone pulling under the train tracks. iDrop using that as he builds close to one of the pillars, but with just 10 HP, he's forced to pop a med kit.
Yeah, a lot of these med kits coming out a little bit earlier than some would hope. The trend for FNCS continues. Not too many heal off as Hari's just trying to get some extra points, but he gets shut down from the high ground. Andelix, Sado look towards the back. They find out Art Skill. Another couple eliminations going to be grabbed, and they position themselves in the top 3.
5 players up, 3 duos. We still have Vidil and Reason up above. Cade is going to be the solo. Goes down to zone. The 2v2 height versus low as Reason drops in. Cracks one, unable to get the knock. Vidil now forced as a solo.
He still has the med kits. He gets it canceled, though, by a threat to try to jump up. Second one going off. It's also going to be canceled. He drops down onto Andelix. Sado is already down. Vidil has woken up from his slumber after day 1 to awaken here in game 2 on the day to take it all.
Back in business from a rough game 1 after dominating day 1, finishing in first place. They are back on their throne.
And that's what happened. The topsy-turvy for those points. 1.5 times points compared to yesterday. And I said it, we are going to see that leaderboard change hands almost every single game today. And with a valiant effort from Bebies and his solo clutch, he went down far too early to where points like this, a win like this, 6 eliminations, 100 points from placement alone, Takada, they have to be sitting pretty in first.
1 year ago, Reason, Chapter 4, Major 1, first place day 1, but dropped down to 3rd place day 2. They said, we're not doing it again. Reason wants to change history. Can they do it, though, is the question. There's 3 people that can help us answer that. Frankie, Levin, Minnie, what you got?
Well, there's 2 people that can help you with that. And I am just going to help them talk through the situation that we just witnessed. Because as the boys just correctly said, Vidil and Reason didn't have the best game 1. But what an impressive display from this duo, establishing that high ground dominance again. We've had low, we've had high. I wonder where we're going to go next, Levin.
I mean, if Vidil and Reason have anything to do with it, it's going to be a show. It's going to be entertaining because that is what these guys do. They entertain. Like the caster said, they were asleep still, you know, they actually, you know, it wasn't actually them playing, you know, somebody else just, you know, they weren't really there. But now they are here. They're reminding us exactly what they're capable of. And I mean, Mini, that is the kind of momentum. That is probably the best game they have had so far, right? You know, you looked at the first 6 games they had yesterday, and it was like a weird one. I think you mentioned it earlier, right? Where you looked at the list of games they had and thought, can't believe they're actually in first place of these games, you know? Like, there's nothing that's jumping out to you, but now a statement win here.
Yeah, Vidil said it himself. He was like, hang on a sec, how are we actually in first here? And I think now it just shows that they are actually deserving to be in that position. They haven't fluked it on day 1. I think this is a nice zone for them because it ended up in the similar sort of area to what we saw in the previous game. So it was like they had that practice of that rotation. They knew what they did wrong in that first game and could actually adjust their strategy. What I did like, though, we haven't really seen Vidil and Reason on height this season. I haven't seen them performing this well in this level lobby on height. So it's nice to see them going for that, particularly in this sort of format as well, when you're going to get those 1.5x points. A massive win like this is going to be huge for this team because it just keeps them afloat, keeps them on top of that leaderboard and allows them to continue taking those risks. Because I was worried that if they did fall down the leaderboard a little bit, they might end up just almost going back into their shell, not taking as many risks. But this is great for this team.
Yeah, I mean, you know me, I'm a bit of a nostalgia merchant. I remember back in the trio days, Reason, Vidil, and Noah Riley, when that was a trio, they used to love high ground, right? They used to be up there and they used to show out. And so it's good to see these guys going back to almost their roots, you would say, you know, playing for height there. Really, really fun game from them.
I feel like it's quite an intelligent decision as well to go, you know what, we don't normally go height, but there is a river adjacent zone. So let's just build up and then we're absolutely ready for anything. And I, for one, am ready to see the leaderboard because I have a feeling that Vidil and Reason would have scooted back up to that #1 spot where we found them at the end of day 1. And there you can see it. Huge placement points for these boys, 460. Malibuka and Mustache. It's still winnable for them, though. I mean, it looks like a lot of points difference, but actually, Mini and Minor, there's still so much to play for, especially with that 1.5x multiplier.
Yeah, 100%. But really impressive stuff from this team, staying consistent. We saw them have 2 massive games yesterday. They had an average game there as well, but it was one of those from me where it was like, are they going to be able to do that tomorrow? Are they going to be able to do that when the points are multiplied? Are they going to be able to do it consistently? And so far, with a 7th there and an 8th in that last game, 5 eliminations and 4 eliminations in both of those games, really nice from this duo. They haven't quite had that massive game yet, the one that we know this duo for from all the way back when, sort of chapter 3 days, just fragging out, going absolutely crazy. But this could be their time to win Malibuca, of course, his first FNCS title. Of course, Mustache won it last year in this very same major, Chapter 4 Major 1. So he has the experience, and Mustache was playing so well yesterday. It looks like they're continuing that today.
Absolutely, man. I look at, when you look at the list of great players who have never won an FNCS, for me, I think Thomas HD probably is number 1 on that list, but if it wasn't Thomas, it would be Malibuca, right? It's 1A, 1B in that regard. And so, look, I think we're going to see some history today, right? If it's these two, if it's first place and second place that continue this race for first, then one of those teams is going to have a new reason as well, a legendary player who has never won an FNCS yet, and he's come close many times. So both of these teams will be pushing in these last couple of games to really make it happen. I mean, Mustache, he's done it before, and so you'd like to hope that experience will tend well and lead in their favor. Same could be said for the deal. And if you can keep on pulling out moments like this one, I mean, look, these guys in their element, flow state right here, like low HP, you just need to get a limbs. There's not many players better than Mustache and Malibuca at that task.
Can we also talk about some of the duos that aren't quite getting victory royales, but are showing themselves to be game for a fight? I'm thinking about Ping at the moment. We just saw so much from him and his duo in this game, and actually across the weekend so far, Levin.
Yeah, I mean, Minnie was, talking about them earlier, right, in terms of being a big fan. They were doing a bit of rouletting yesterday in terms of where they were landing. So we'll see what they can do today and whether it delivers.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it. We're nearly halfway through, boys. We have got to go into game number 9. Everything is on the line.
With everything on the line here, games are slowly but surely going out the window, and the opportunity to pick up points is going along with it. Takada, taking a look at that leaderboard, is there any team kind of pointing out to you?
Look, there's too many teams pointing out at me, Jacob. With the shakeups we've had after every match and this change in format, 1.5 times placement and elims for day 2, it seems like after every game, you said it after game 1, but it's like we have a different person on the throne. It's constantly changing. Like I can't even imagine who is going to end in the top 3. So it's what I love to see. It's the constant action, but also the adaptation that these players have to do.
Yeah, and honestly, I think Veno and Tayson, one of those teams, gonna have to adapt. 2 games so far where they're just not having their way. Things are just going horribly wrong. They're stuck in positions, again, having to find Surge. And that's why throughout the course of the game, they're going ahead and rotating toward Forecast Tower so they can find that Surge. Will that trend continue? Luckily for us, the battle bus is ready and we can get right into the game.
Third match of the day. Vidil and Reason sitting back on their throne like they were at the conclusion of day 1. But Queasy and Thomas HD, from going down off spawn in the second match, they've dropped down to 8th on the leaderboard. But with this quick knock, they have the advantage now. The 2 versus 1, all they need to do is close it off, and it's exactly what gets done.
Yeah, I like the opportunity there, but he had the first shot with a frenzy just too far away to really land damage that matters. Belusi under pressure. Marius and Sangold already have 1 elimination, which is his duo, and he tries to take to fight to then. I've seen that work sometimes, but more times than not, the numbers game usually wins.
That was an engagement close to the Lavish Layer, so these duos are also aware of what Thomas HD and Queasy's engagement is looking like. So seeing that one ended early, I don't think they'll be looking for a sort of third party. Vidil and Reason feeling a lot more comfortable now. They're awake, like Levin said. No more naps, no more sleeping. It's day 2 of the grand finals, the last chance to show your worth in this major. And they are a duo that are looking like they can take it home.
What I like about Reason and Vidya over here towards Snooty Steps. Typically, you see a lot of teams kind of just battle it out for the mythic, for the medallion, without too many cares in the world. They kind of play it by ear. They let those opportunities come to them. It looks like George looking for Vasquez. They finally drop down. They're going to find him. No more hide and seek. It's all about finishing the job, and that one's going to come through easy, just stuck on the side of a mountain. And then Vasquez are going to be no more here in this lobby, which kind of opens up a possible forecast tower, because more times than not, it was them that were going for it.
And that forecast tower can be crucial for making sure you safely make it to the late game, having that vision of the upcoming zones before your competitors. Reason and Vidil just continuing with their planned out loot path, as they know they do have some players close by. However, there's nothing they need to do other than loot right now.
Yeah, just trying to find for both of them to get a grappler, maybe some fizzes, some crash pads. It's going to be the most important things that they're looking for. Rotation, mixing pings. Almost looks like they're trying to cut off a loot path, hide on a chest. Marius and Sangil got to be careful. It's no longer just a trick coming out from Misha and Tini. Everybody really taking note and trying to add some sort of that strategy to their game plan. They sense it. They sense something's up. Nothing's easy. They try to go ahead and 2v1 pings on the other side. Marius go ahead and adds a huge flank and a couple of shots. Going to allow his teammate Sangil to get out almost unscathed.
It does not work as Ping and Mixon from hiding now to on their knees, knocked down. Using that sniper rifle to maximize damage as the 2v1. Mixon now put into panic. He needs to make something happen in this duel.
It's a nice first shot being fired. He's trying to finish it off. Back to back.
Oh.
Great attempt from Mixon. Unfortunately, the 2v1, Sangil really firing the defining shot to take him down, but he was putting in work, whittling down his opponents, chipping him down one shot at a time. Fortunately enough, he has to kind of watch the rest of this game out on the sidelines. Malabuka, Mustache, fencing fields. You can see nobody else is really over in this location anymore. Everybody kind of disengaged on out, leaving Malabuka and Mustache all the time in the world to farm up, to loot up before they make the rotation on outward. And they've been having such a consistent FNCS, not just today, but multiple second places yesterday. Their team, I feel like, are in the running towards the top of that leaderboard.
They have such a strong early game as well. Getting the vault every match, getting the medallion, the mythic AR. It's a huge benefit to the rest of their match, just like these forecast towers that Giraz and Cherry are going for. They might have even already gotten it. You can see the Elim on the board. Or they're just waiting for the NPCs to spawn still. Taking a look at the surrounding areas. Farming up, making sure they're staying efficient. They don't want to be put into place here, doing nothing. Either you could be farming, either you could be looking for tags. There's always something you want to do. And let's take a look at here at the, let's say, most aggressive forecast battle we've seen. But what's going on here, Jacob? I see Vico, I see Pink. I don't see any eliminations, and I don't see any Kiduo or Kiro.
Yeah, it almost makes you wonder with how it's been going, trading off between the two. You can kind of see when Vico and Pink get there first, Kiro and Kudo, they either play it slow, they take high ground, or they disengage completely. But on the other way around, more times than not, Pink and Vico are ready to fight for it. So it does look like they were just there first to the punch and really kind of pushing teams out as they try to enter in to their line of sight. Even players trying to launch pad into the distance, becoming targets of Vico.
You can see here, Kiduo is at the Grand Glacier with his duo partner. They are refarming, currently in 13th place on the leaderboard, right beside Vico and Pink at 15th. Everybody close in terms of points, though. You can see it's 218 for 17th, and I believe 228 all the way up to 13th. Just a couple eliminations separating them, as Diox and Cade now as well with 0 on the board will just continue getting themselves into a better position.
Nice find there. Fizz, floppers. A lot of this loot towards the shoreline does remain unlooted. into a team like this, rotates on pass, not really expecting to find much. It's usually a blessing in disguise. Flowberry Fizz coming on out. Say Dioxicade. Their path currently is going to be cut off by Volko and Vortexers, which kind of separated, but not too far off to cause too many worries. They were able to get one of the forecast towers. Wax and Pixie looking like they're going to be able to get the other. And obviously the first one that we saw, Pink and Vico, they're going to have the third.
Rotate continues now. Objective secured, loot secured. And after the forecast towers, now the engagements usually end up for those combat caches that will spawn at an equal distance between two teams. So if we start to see a lot more box fights, that is why. Taking a look at Pablo and his duo partner Bevies, who have been performing incredibly well here at the start of day 2. You can see up in 3rd place now. Merstash Malabuka 2nd, Vidil Reason up back on their throne in 1st. But all it takes is one big game, like we saw, to change up the leaderboard.
And it almost makes you wonder if they're just able to stay alive as a full duo. As Mary just kind of misses the crash pad play, hits his head on the roof. Like, how good would Pablo and Bevies be on that leaderboard if they were able to play out those respective games together? Might have made a big difference.
It's always the what ifs, Jacob. It's always the what ifs.
For candies and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas.
And happy holidays. Marius and Sanguild with 4 on the board. On the train tracks, this is, I believe, where the last game did end. As we look at Volko Vortexers, you said it yourself, Jacob. First victory royale in an FNCS finals yesterday. They've been getting to the late game, especially in the first match, but not yet able to secure another win.
Uh-oh. Sapphire gets a knock on the Veno in the feed. And even gets the cleanup. That's not the best situation for them to be in, especially with a comeback opportunity. I even saw Veno after one of those games talking about taking back control, just watch. You got to imagine, probably with a statement like that, maybe getting a little aggressive, because you know as well as I do, one of their biggest problems throughout this FNCS is how they're handling Surge in these set lobbies, which not necessarily been going their way, and they've been kind of having to really dig deep, put themselves into risky situations just to find that surge. And I got to imagine that has to be another one.
You can see Jason left alone. Veno knocked out of the match. Once again, another solo we're following. Who's in the top of the leaderboard? They have dropped down. You can see 10th place with 326 points. But we said it recently, one big match is what they need. They got it in the last game of day 1, and anything's possible here in day 2.
Gotta be able to have mental toughness. It's a marathon. It's not just a race across the finish line. Got to be able to stay composed. And one thing I learned, you know, even though we do have those special cases, but not everything in an FNCS will go your way. And you got to be able to handle when things kind of go wrong and be able to bounce back. Can't just mentally give up. And you see iDrops by himself trying to remain tough in a situation just like this. And it doesn't necessarily scare me too much. I've seen iDrop clutch in some of the biggest moments, including this FNCS, just to make it to this stage. As Veno gets Tayson, or Tayson gets Veno back into the game. But there is going to be another team ready to pounce. They're trying to take him down, and Veno gets dropped just as fast as he got rebooted back into the game, which leaves Tayson by himself. Lazen and Locks are going to be the team trying to disrupt and really try to stop the credible FNCS run between Tayson and Veno. Tayson doing a good job of fighting back. Brings Lazen down to just a sliver of shield. Full HP, though, is buying himself even more time with each shot that gets fired.
An emergency for Tayson, put him to crisis, as now he's in the 1v2. It looks like their opponents almost want to force out this engagement with the shots coming from Tayson. They look a little scared as they're not being completely aggressive here. Has the time with that Flowberry Fizz. Zone gets closer and closer now.
Es 100% que se daña la información. Esta información es
iDrop. There's going to be another player close by. So many things can go wrong here.
Es una idea, de verdad. Tú que puedes
He got the cheeky elimination on the Veno. Even though he doesn't get credit, he was able to not only loot it up, get just a couple more shots for his overall Storm Surge. Tayson sneaks in, grabs Veno's card, and is immediately trying to disengage on out and go for reboot attempt number 2.
iDrop continuing to build behind him. He will be able to reuse this match, but Tayson, with shots like those, cracking iDrop. Is he going to force the fight from this? He is a solo. He could use a bit of extra loot, but he sees the duos close by. He cannot take a lot of time. It's either get in or get out.
I think he's taking notice of that, and you can almost see the decision-making in real time as he disengages on out. Shield isn't necessarily too much of a worry here for Tayson as long as he doesn't get chipped away at his HP. Finally, the disengage is going to come through. You know he has Veno's reboot card, and the goal is to get him back into the game. And after that, goal 2 is find some sort of a refresh because Tayson now doesn't look the most healthy in terms of materials. Now imagine when Veno comes back and they got to split it between them both.
Definitely not going to be easy. Scary from Merstash. No shield, sliver of HP. Although Malibuca has built around the flag here, so it looks like they should be able to secure a bit of extra loot as the medallion gets split up, so they do not have to use those consumable heals so early on. They should be able to get some extra as well now. The question is, though, will these other duos close by apply pressure, or will they just keep refarming?
He's second place, 433 points. Not only going to be able to capture that, but they're on top of Rift Island. Good way in towards zone as well. So no matter where it pushes or pulls, Malibuca Merstash, whether they use the Flowberry Fizz or just the regular old launch pad, we're going to have an easy chance rotating in towards zone. Tayson still, you can see he's still trying to find that reboot card.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. He is taking the safer option to go to Grand Glacier, though, inside of the zone. And he's not the only player that's getting a reboot here. It's iDrop, but you saw the duo creeping in once again in a similar scenario to what Tayson just went through. iDrop picks up Nebs. Nebs, on the other hand, though, isn't going to go down just yet. But they're forced again into an engagement, into this battle where they don't have the advantage in.
Yeah, Nebs and iDrop need to figure out a way to reunite. But Andalix and Sato giving them more than enough opportunity as they're going to crash pad their way towards zone. So now it's just about giving yourself time here in a situation like this, even if you're deep in zone, just like Nebs and iDrop are, just to try to farm up, get as many resources. You've done enough at this stage to get your teammate back into the game, and now you just need to push yourself over that line. Same thing could be said about Tayson and Veno. And since they do land over towards Grand Glacier, they can recycle a lot of this loot, anything that they did leave behind from earlier on in the same match before they rotate on over. Tayson's going to be the one leading the charge. He's going to spot. And then later, Veno will reunite into the same box once that comes to fruition.
Go into the launch pads. That are naturally placed on top of the mountain here to fly right back into zone. They should be able to make it all the way. They even have those spare medkits to heal up, but I wonder how much damage Tayson was able to get. He did quite a bit in those engagements, so it shouldn't be too bad for this duo, but they will definitely need to do a bit of work in these upcoming zones.
Does look like we got another pool, not too far away though from the current zone. So Tayson and Veno, that's a little bit of a blessing, so they don't have to keep rotating towards the northwest part of the map away from Rift Island, but they immediately get spotted out by Seti, who cracks the shield. And typically that would be a great opportunity to go, but you see Seti and Cammy separated on two different ends of Reckless Railway, not really able to take advantage of that damage. And instead, they're going to do the next best thing, try to reunite on the other side of the zone, but as we tuned in, Malibuca and Merstash in another fight on the other side. They're able to at least get one. AR Pafo is going to be the only one left, and they're hot on the heels, melting through a lot of these builds, just trying to get that 6 extra points for their efforts. And just like that, that's going to be achieved, and that's 12 overall at the top of Rift Island that Malibuca and Merstash just gathered.
Quick, nice little 12 for Merstash and Malibuca. Oh, that was a disgusting snipe. To give Bafo the benefit of the doubt, the last time he did compete in the finals was over 1,280 days ago in Chapter 2, Season 3. Actually, the longest of any player in this lobby, even longer than Mongrel. So it must be tough. But for iDrop and Nebs, they are for the combat cash, but they're going to need to get into a bit of action if they want to secure it. 35 above, they've done a bit of damage. 41 shield, 35 HP as the zone keeps ticking.
Yeah, luckily for them, they did get the combat cash in which you were talking about, which grants them med kits and more time to fight in towards the zone, but iDrop has to go ahead and pop his first one now. Nebs needs to play defensive, allow him to pop that med kit without really canceling it, but opponents on the other side, Dandy and Stas, it does look like they're down on Surge, so they really have no other choice but to keep fighting this. So if they disengage, that'll be all their HP, all their heals. iDrop's and Nev, they did just enough to stay ahead of the curve. 29 is better than nothing. iDrop's trying to go in, gain a little bit more advantage. The first knock is going to come through with ease. iDrop and Nebs, though, still under pressure on the other side. Another team towards the outskirts taking notice, starting to put shots in that direction. iDrop wins the fight, but Nebs goes down again.
They needed to take this fight. They needed those eliminations to get the refresh, but as Neb's been knocked, iDrop forced to leave him, continue as a solo. We can see what happened here with Veno and Tayson. They just were making their way back into zone, but Seti and Cammy stopped them. Is that what's going to lead to their demise, as it looks like the zone might have got the best of them?
Yeah, unfortunately enough, it is confirmed. Veno and Tayson go down outside of zone. Another game where the struggles continue, which is really leaving them in a position, even with 1.5 points, they need top performances. And I need all caps when it comes to those top performances if they want to have a chance at not only the first place prize, but that global championship, which is granted to the top 2 teams in this competition.
Malabuka Merstash currently in second place. Now, this is a duo that competed together in FNCS, but ended up splitting at the beginning of Chapter 4. It would be amazing to see them take home a title after joining forces once again. Vidil and Reason, though, they might stop that from happening if they continue the dominance like we saw from the last match.
Yeah, you can see they got that max pull, and instead of fighting a risky fight, the team that's in first place, it does look like they're going to try to crash pad, rotate on out. They're just double checking before they go ahead, maybe even popping a little bit of a med kit on the side of Vidil. Crash pad finally coming out. And this is where the rotation is going to begin for Reason and Vidil. Even Seti going down to Shimoki, though, while everybody's making their way over. And if you look at the rotation, look at the mini-map, Takata. There is nobody in sight in front of Vidil and Reason. They just got themselves a free rotation.
I mean, with 3 elims, it's not like they need a lot of damage either. This is very impactful for this duo. I mean, the only ones you can see Astral Art Skill kind of in the zone there. But they should just be able to almost walk in here. They might even wait a little bit so that the other duos begin their rotate and the focus gets onto them before using the crash pad here. They are going to pop the Flowberry, though. Crash pad's going to go down. They're going to take the rotate early and have the option to look back at the duos rotating in. You can even slide up this hill here. They might just be the most elevated duo as the quick scope comes through, unable to connect the headshot, but that's still a big tag.
I was just laughing to myself momentarily. As soon as they got the crash pad off, you see that team just immediately close up their boxes. They don't want to be susceptible to any sort of sneaky plays or even it's somebody trying to slide right in. That's Lunex and Monier, the ones who took a huge sniper shot from Reason. Really second guess any peaks coming through. So jump on board Pablo and Bevy at one point or another today. Pablo had stolen the show, but with the hiccups in that last game, stolen right back by and Vidil. This is their chance now that they're a full duo. Placement points starting to click in, that they can really show the potential in which they've been working on all season long.
Storm Surge is active. You see the Nodi now as players are rushed to do a bit of damage. They need to make something happen if they don't have enough. But for Reason and Vidil, a push came through, took out Art Skill, and it went down. Our #1 team eliminated once again before the late game even starts.
With just scraps of points gathered up until that point. Very little placement Not a ton in terms of eliminations. So again, the trend of teams at the top of the leaderboard has the potential to change hands. They were only 27 points ahead of Malibuca and Mustache to start this game off. A couple more placements alone is going to have them overtaking first place, let alone any eliminations they're able to get.
A huge opportunity for this duo. Mustache has a title alongside Tayson, but Malibuca is looking to get his first. Will this be enough to put them in the first place spot? The grapple comes through. They have an incredible amount of damage, elevating themselves to a more secure layer, but they cannot get picked off here.
Yeah, we're going over this bridge. You don't want to be stuck underneath. At least when it starts for the moving zones, it might be fine for now. CZB on the other side, along with his teammate Nathan, really don't have any shields. Thomas Queasy, 220 above the threshold. Just gathering all this information. They spot this player out, and they know that he's weak, and it looks like they're going to try to drop him in. That's Robin. He lost his duo Manax not too long ago, and now he loses himself. He goes down. Great opportunity from Queasy and Veno, or Queasy and Thomas, excuse me, there, to find that elimination.
Bevies, Pablo, the Elim onto Nathan, as they are all the way down below here. Rotates will have to come through. It's 9th zone now, first moving, coming to a close. A majority of the duo is already on the moving side, but it's Swizzy and Putrick that are in the clouds. We've seen throughout these matches that the duos to hold on from first zone are almost able to maintain it the whole way through the end game. Can they do it once again?
And time will tell, because we know there's a couple of those teams still alive here in this lobby. Especially the ones with Skype. Pepe just gets targeted out. Multiple teams, left, right, and center. Malibuca and Mustache doing the brunt of that damage, continuing the pressure. They don't want to let these eliminations go for free, but Pablo is going to be able to skip on by with the Flowberry Fizz combined with the crash pad. Bevies and him got separated. Finally reunite, though, with just a sliver of HP. These guys never seemingly going down without a fight. To never count them out.
Pressure is on. 132 below. Flowberry Fizz gonna be popped for that mobility boost. Big pot coming through, but Bevies needs a med kit. It's dropped now, as they need to keep rotating.
80 below. Storm Surge going to begin to do damage for this team. They have to figure out where they're going to get the damage. 23, 40, 80, constantly ping-ponging up and down the damage threshold. A couple of those heals are coming out. Only a couple more players do need to go down before Storm Surge does deactivate. Great play and example for that as Diox gets the target towards the backside. Damage is being dealt. Storm Surge turns off. Pablo and Bevy still need some sort of refresh to heal up, and Diox is going to be the one in their line of sights, hot on the heels, but he changes layers to try to get out. He's trying to plan a great escape here.
Pablo needs to be the initiator here. He does have more HP and shield. His duo partner now needs to regroup. There we go. They're together. They're surviving zone, but with 0 builds to work with, they popped their last big pot, and they need to make something happen.
Yeah, all they have left. Meanwhile, Smooth Sailing, Swizzy, Putrick, still have to be careful though, because I saw Thomas Queasy going up a few layers. Those are the ones who might take high ground, but Pablo gets dropped. Bevies gets taken down. Dexy with a 2v1. That's how you score 12 points in the late game.
The back-to-back is Malibuca. Once again, there's a solo. 505 points on the board, looking to overtake the throne. 2 medkits in the inventory. He's going to pop 1. He does have 28 builds. 2 options now. Go ahead with the materials or stay again in the zone. Another med kit. As Queasy and Thomas, they retook height.
I knew it. The moment I saw them moving up a couple of those layers, they want to go ahead and try to close out this game. You have to be careful, though. We've seen them in this position before, yesterday to be exact, and they were taken down by a well-placed snipe shot. Thomas overstretching to get those opportunities. Will they make that same mistake? Marius and Sandguild. And this team, they already have a win today. It was Sandguild's first win in an FNCS Finals lobby, and they're looking to mimic that here.
Not only that, 8 eliminations. They want double digits. They are hungry for more. Just 8 duos up as Astral gets taken down. Double-edit comes through. It's Pink. It's Vico. As Marius continues taking shots. He's just 1 more away from getting the knock on Pink, and he gets it. Both players still up. They continue from low ground.
That was a big find to keep themselves moving forward. 9 eliminations, almost into the double digits, but you have to go against the kings of Lavish Layer, Thomas and Queasy. As he drops in, he finds out Pixie on the hunt for another. Pink and Vico are now fully out of lobby as Vico gets taken down. Thomas continues to drop down, but it's not enough. He finally meets his maker. Marius and Sangil take him out, and they're trying to go for the second PR of the day as they inch themselves into the Final Four.
Can they do it? It's Queasy up top. He has a med kit. The question is, how many? Sangil now forced to play in the zone. Marius looking to cause disruption. It's Sangil that has one more med kit. And Queasy up above, continuing with the heal off.
Yeah, Fire's there as well. Basically a solo FNCS for this end game, all coming down to a heal off. Queasy grapple blades to the front side of the zone. Can only imagine what he found. Sangil now has to go on the hunt. The last of his heals are going to be used. Only a few seconds left, but he finds another med kit. No chance to use it. Queasy and Thomas take the game.
That is a massive win for this duo. They were dropped down to 8th place from going off spawn to now securing the victory royale and bumping themselves right back to where they came from.
Playing their roles to perfection. Thomas dropping down, causing so much chaos, so much commotion to find those eliminations and pick up opportunities for Queasy to go unscathed on that high ground. Even with him starting the heal off before zone fully closed, they did more than enough damage and found more than enough heals to make this game look easy.
Queasy looking to secure his 4th NCS title. Thomas HD trying to get his 1st. The most consistent player yet to take home an FNCS. You know they want it more than ever.
It's going to be the greatest chance. There was kind of the final moments. Grapple blading to the front side of the zone. Almost even threading the needle in terms of when he popped it. You saw him go down to about 16 or so HP. But once again, Thomas and Queasy really rise up, and something we noticed throughout game 1, throughout game 2, first place, the teams at the top of the leaderboard are falling rather early. So another chance for a team to take over first place. But have they done enough? Frankie, Levin, Minnie, let us know.
Thank you very much, boys. I'm so excited to see the leaderboard yet again for this one. Queasy is no stranger to a victory royale in a major final. He's no stranger to winning a major. However, Thomas, on the other hand, has narrowly missed out in the past, but now they are one step closer to flying towards that Axe of Champions mini minor. And actually, Queasy got a bit lucky at the end because he found a magical med kit and it netted them the top spot.
Yeah, he did. This is just classic Queasy gameplay, of course, taking that high. We saw Hutrick and Swizzy, it was all the way up on top. And we thought, you know what, this could be a good game for these guys. Haven't seen too much from them. But yeah, Thomas HD had other ideas with this. Look at that. One snipe, chops it out, and then thinks, you know what, I'm going to go for it again, and hits it again because his name is Thomas HD. That's what this guy can do. Unbelievable stuff. And then just to have that ability, the green light to go up to height and then say, right, Queasy, you take over. What do we do? How do we win this?
I mean, that double snipe is just ridiculous. Like, that might be one of the best things I've seen in a long, long time in an FNCS to take high. But like Frankie alluded to, the actual win of this game was so fortunate because you saw Queasy was on height. He drops down it. He's run out. He has no med kits left. He's hoping the other players don't have anything. He finds a med kit on the train tracks. I mean, how lucky can he get? I was going to talk about luck going into this before they actually won the game because all these zones have been in this Lavish Lair area. Somebody's looking out for Thomas HD. They want him to get that first FNCS win. And I mean, still, they are delivering in terms of their performances, and it's so deserved. Again, last year, he was playing in Malibuca. They had the chance to win it. They came second place by 1 point. Not one elimination, not 1 point was the difference. So hopefully they can get to first place and hold on and win that first FNCS for Thomas HD. It would be so deserved.
It really would be. Can I just give a quick shout out to Nicholas and Oliver, who are Thomas HD's biggest fans? We had the honor of meeting these two back at the Global Championship, and I have a feeling you're going to be watching right now and eating a celebratory hot dog. So Nicholas and Oliver, if you're watching your boy Thomas HD, I hope you're enjoying the show, and fingers crossed for your favorite player. Let's take a look at the leaderboard and find out where we are, because that was an incredible performance from Thomas and Malibuca. Malabuka. But Sanguild and Marius, the eliminations, the names they were taking in that endgame mini minor left me breathless.
Yeah, incredible stuff from that duo. I think it was 11 eliminations they had there right at the end. And to do that on the big stage in the grand finals for a duo that we don't get to talk about too much as top tier names is absolutely incredible, right? They're not nervous at all. They're bringing the heat right now. And that's the reason why they've just moved up 6 places on that leaderboard. You just alluded to it there as well, Evan. The zones. They've been 3 zones in pretty much the exact same place. So for those guys, they're taking very much advantage of that. They're taking the most amount of advantage of that, it seems like, because they drop very, very close to that. For someone like Queasy and Thomas, those guys are contested off spawn, right? They've only had 2 chances to actually make it to that end game. So to see those guys really making the most and grasping as many points as they can when the zone's in their favor is really nice from them.
Yeah, again, big ups to Danish Fortnite right now. They got 3 teams in the top 5. Obviously, they won that first place slot. And shout out to the first place team, Malabuka Mustache, breaking 500 points. Now they are the ones in the lead, and the way they're playing, they might not let go of it.
It was a fantastic performance by these guys. And I wonder if they can hold on. They still haven't got themselves that elusive victory royale. But consistency is king in this format. And it's so impressive to see that between this duo, there's always one of them that's playing for the end game. And there's always another one of them who is picking up the eliminations. And honestly, it feels like it can be either name mini minor. It's not actually consistent from game to game. But what is consistent is that they will have at least 4 elims as they head into the end game.
Yeah, these are the fragging goats, it seems like, on the region. Everyone always used to talk about Malabuka. Yesterday, Mustache led the way on damage dealt. Let's see if he can do it again today.
Let's see, as we only have a few more games left, and we're going into double digits, fellas. It's game number 10 with Jacob PR and Takata.
This is where the stage is set for the last moments of Major 1, Jacob. It's the last chance to kind of set yourself up for that final match of the day. What are they going to change up?
I mean, honestly, a couple of these teams need to change up how aggressive they're getting early, and then some other ones about how passive they're playing early. Some teams going for Surge. We saw it a few times already, and other teams just trying to out-heal Surge. And with these new changes, it's not the easiest thing. In some of these zones, we need 10, we need 15 players to go down. And even if you have the resources to out-heal it, it leaves you nothing left once it does turn off.
I mean, we have duos like Thomas HD and Queasy who have engagements right off the start, getting contested at their drop spot. But you have duos like Malabuka Mustache who have a vault to themselves, medallion to themselves, mythic loot. The battle bus is ready. Let's get into it.
Will anything change here in game 10? It's going to be our 4th game of the day, and already you're seeing Queasy, Thomas, nothing changing here. Business as usual between the two. And it does look like Queasy Thomas have that elevation that we're always talking about. Cringe gets spotted out. Thomas being so patient, even though he has the ability with the hammer pump to go ahead and land a one-shot. He's making sure to use the teamwork to really make this dream work.
He got the benefit of getting a shotgun off the start, which can be crucial to coming out on top. But the issue is now time keeps going, the clock keeps ticking. Both teams are going to keep looting, and it looks like it isn't going to be an instant brawl.
Not just yet. What we've seen so far, I think Crimson Nodge playing just a little bit more careful than they have before. Queasy Thomas, they've never been one, unless they have a huge advantage right out of the gates to really chase after any of these eliminations, especially towards Lavish Layer, where there's so many places to hide, around corners, behind doors, even behind some boxes and chairs. As we tune in to Marius already down right out of the gates. Sanguild going to be by himself. They are playing so well today. Almost getting double-digit eliminations in that last game.
Thomas HD now in the action as he knocks down one. Engagement has commenced. Upper hand for Queasy and Thomas HD. Is it going to be enough to finish it off? It is. Nice 2 elims now. 12 points to bump them up. Currently, they were 3rd place going into this match, just 7 points below Reason and Vidil. So with these 12 points, they're already going to be in 2nd.
Already we're seeing positions change, and it's exactly how the fight started. These nods trying to work their way up. Thomas Queasy already having that advantage. In the end, the fight just as quick as it starts. But from one side of the map to the other, Snooty Steps rather calm. His Reason does look like he's already stuck as a solo. And this might change the way you think. It might change the way you play if you're someone like Reason, especially with its 1.5 points. Placement is everything for him in this situation.
Once again, Mally Mustache. The medallion and mythic loot here now shortly going to go towards the vault. There are duos in fencing fields, but they're not exactly fighting each other off the start. They're focused more on looting up and continuing the rest of their path. They have this planned down to the second from the amount of times they've done it. What the farm on the rotate, how to maximize how long it takes. Ping Mixin now as well, already outside of their original drop spot, being chased down almost, it seems, by a duo on a Rich.
Shots still going through, even though that's not a ton. That team is getting the shots. It's just allowing them a little bit more flexibility and freedom as the game does progress, especially if they're still able to find surge shots, even if it's not just on Mixin and pings. As they are looking around all other directions, they have the elevation advantage in a position like that. As Sandguild now under pressure once more. Tini trying to go ahead and the run of a team that's just been so dominant throughout the past couple of games, and he's doing everything he can to try to just disengage. But he's going a little bit too quick for himself. And this is where Misha and Tini, they're just going to continuously chase this one down. This is 6 points. This is a player that's ahead of them on the leaderboard that they don't have to worry about for the remainder of this game.
Looking to plan his escape route. Does have that grapple blade in hand, giving him the advantage, as I believe his opponents do not. So they'll take shots from afar, but they're not going to be able to chase Sandguild as quickly as he's able to escape.
It does look like Misha and Tini can remain on the chase, especially as we continue to move over to this side of the map, where there's not as many teams contesting compared to some of these other split drops and overall POIs, especially with another team. I think that was low-key an area nearby. Misha and Tini might get distracted with them and allow Sandguild to get out. Have a chance to get Marius back into the game, because that's going to be the biggest thing. There's a huge strength in numbers. Even with some solo clutches, the biggest difference is when teams are able to make it to the end game alive.
It's easier said than done, Jacob, is the issue, especially with the level of this lobby. Astral Art skill close by. If they're able to spot Sandguild here as a solo, it could be incredibly dangerous for him. He does have the grapple blade, though, so he is going to be able to quickly get up this ridge. The shots come through, though. You can see him almost acting aggressive to try and show confidence, make them think that it's a duo that's healthy and ready to fight. But little do they know, it's a solo with 50 HP and no spare shield or health to work with.
If he has the reboot card, that's a good chance for him to move back towards Rebels Roost. A lot of the teams are rotating towards the south, towards the center of zone. So a couple reboot vans up there have the chance to be uncontested with nobody really in that position. Cade and Diox started these games off over towards fencing fields. They loot up a lot of the outskirts since they know Malibuca and Mustache will go for the vault, will go for the NPC. And then they kind of disengage on out from there and try to get their surge before they start to rotate towards the center of zone. They kind of work their way from the outside in.
33 bullets in that Reaper sniper rifle. More than enough to make an impact as they continue hunting around to see if there's any players in the surrounding area. For Sandguild, though, it looks like he's making it happen. Reboot comes through. Are there any duos around? I don't see them. No shots coming through either, but just in case, building up, making sure they're good to go. You can see on the mini-map, though, it looks like someone's interested.
Yeah, there was one duo that heard the noise, and they're quickly rotating off into this direction. You know exactly where the reboot van is, but they don't have confirmation that they are still there. Up until this point where Sandguild breaking through. Still have to break those. I actually got stuck on that the other day. The fight's going to begin, though. That's Artskill on the other side. Makes easy work of Sandguild. Marius going to have to go ahead and make up for it. Was able to grab a decent loadout for a situation like this, trying to burst into the box. Artskill is going to be there on the other side. A trade for trade, a knock for a knock. But Marius still has a player on Astral right below him who is full shield and HP that he has to work his way through.
Marius was the one that got rebooted, so no shield to work with. Just a little bit of weapons. He can make it happen. He just needs to hit that initial big shot. He cannot take one from his opponent here. Astral 26. It's not going to be enough yet, but if he can keep it coming, 4 builds to work with. Now in the box, needs to get out. Unable to hit the next shot as now he's dropped down. Forced to work with just 3 builds. He needs to connect this next shot.
Running out of time here. There's not a lot of heals to go around as Astrals does look like he might try to bait out the revive, get Marius to break into the box, and really has no other choice unless you want to go ahead and try to find a 2v1. Seconds left. The player will go down overall due to timing, which kind of solidifies it into a 1v1. Marius trying to turn and burn, but Astral just too much HP. I said that in the beginning. He was full shield and full HP. Unfortunate enough, there was a great attempt, but it can't overtake your opponent.
We'll take a look now. Pixie walks. Lasky Hen. They are going to be around the forecast tower. Taking shots with the sniper. Unable to connect one yet, though, as the waiting game here for the objective will continue.
Actually, oh, wow. Pixie almost gets sideswiped there. So narrowly missing that shot. Great opportunity, but now he's coned up, boxed up. He's going to work his way down. Wax works his way out. Him and Pixie are able to reunite finally in the same box. And there's another team kind of waiting on over in that direction, rotating on out. They didn't like what they saw in terms of trying to third-party this fight. They think it's a safer and better play to rotate towards the zone, especially with Forecast Tower being in that direction.
We've seen a lot of quick scopes turn fights around here. All it takes is one headshot. The sniper rifle isn't just effective from afar. It's effective from close range. Say one of the best weapons to turn fights around. Tayson Benno looking to see if they can climb back up. Second half of the day, they dominated. As Mixon is going to be the one that goes down. That's one on the board for Benno now, but the pressure from the teams in the surrounding areas will continue as they're going to reloot what they got from this elimination.
This is typically a chance too. If a team is fighting for Forecast Tower over on that side, for them not necessarily to go in, get aggressive with the point getting eliminations. No, not that, but more so to try to keep getting surge, taking advantage of teams. Kira and Kudo kind of hiding nearby. Don't want to really take that route. Imagine Forecast Tower saw it in the distance, already boxed up. Queasy Thomas with their early game eliminations. They're feeling comfortable sitting on top of Lavish Layer. And with the zone rotating towards the north, they're just hoping that all those teams that landed towards the north, whether on the east or the west side, use Lavish Layer as a way to rotate through. And that's how they're hoping to find their surge.
Rotate coming through now. Thomas grouping back up with Queasy. That was going ahead. You can see up at the north side of the map here, back from zone. There are some duos coming back in. What Thomas HD and Queasy are going to do now is reform up that metal, get those materials capped. As we take a look at Bevies and Pablo. Shot comes through, nothing connects. Currently in 4th place on the leaderboard, but not too far from first. It's still anybody's game, Jacob. And this being the second to last match of the day, you really want to do the best you can to set yourself up for the highest chance of success for that FNCS trophy.
Yeah, especially considering how close this FNCS actually is. It's literally wide open for the taking. One blunder, one little misstep could cost a team everything, especially as you said, we're getting in the second half of the day. Few games remaining overall, which means there's few opportunities to even make up a point differential, depending on where you're at on the leaderboard. You can see Reason just trying to make his way through. for him. Surge is going to be a challenge in this game, especially as a solo, because even if you're able to pop the shots, as soon as the team turns around and sees you're a solo, they might see that as a green light to go and take advantage of the opportunity while they have it.
You can see here, Thomas and Queasy, seeing that the zone did pull more north here by Lavish Layer. They're automatically put on the uncongested side, and they're not forced to rotate really deep into zone. So they're capitalizing on that, including the fact that they already got the 2 eliminations and damage off the start to kind of play here on the safer side, as eventually they'll get in and build up and look for those tags that they will need. But for now, they have the time to kind of plan out the rest of the match.
To me, I feel like it doesn't even matter how long they stay in the zone. Thomas is calculated at this point. Even having an entertaining run at the end. Veno's domination does continue. He's able to get onto Shaco's, but he himself goes down yet again. The aggression turning out to be also their demise in some cases. Does look like Reed is getting pushed.
Yeah. In a tough situation here. 487 points on the board, 43 builds to work with. He does have those 3 med kits if he would like to stay in zone longer, but forced into this engagement, he really needs to show his dominance.
He's doing a good job fighting back, especially with numbers massively against him. One's going to go down, but unfortunately, he's just all by himself in the numbers game. The 2v1 is just too strong for him to overtake, but you got to give him credit being able to not only fight back, but at least get a knock onto one of the 2 players.
G-Roz, Chari, Ruined Reels, a lot of duos here in the area. They will be taking pop shots at each other. Good news for this duo is they're elevated enough to look for those shots on the players rotating in. Diox Cade, a little more close quarters engagement here. Debule Pixel are going to be the players close by.
Cade is just a sliver of shield just left, so we're going to have to reunite, figure out what order they want to use everything in. They do have minis. They have, I do believe, big pots or maybe a Flowberry Fizz as well, just to kind of get the last remaining of the shields. But there's still a lot of teams littered in and around fencing fields. So you have to be careful to not overstay or leave at the wrong time. And even more coming in, you see Andalex and Sato in the distance, Cam Musetti and the hill outside of fencing fields. With the zone pushing in this direction, it is going to become the congested side of the map.
You can see Murstache, sniper in hand, looking around for an open. Pixel Debule most likely doing a similar thing here, as there are just a few duos in the surrounding area. 4th zone will come to a close now. 5th will appear. It's up north. They got to go. Good news for Queasy and Thomas HD. A little bit of worse news for the duos here down south.
That's where Zone's going to push teams further and further away from Rift Island. See Volko Vortexers almost in the center of the zone overall, have plenty of options. The team's even rotating, riding the train. But when you're going to get off, though, that's going to be the biggest thing. And they're even capturing it just to get even more loot. It's Hen, that's Vasquez. I do believe they were kind of pushed off their forecast tower maybe this time around. But not only is that a free rotation, you see them going to the slow side of the zone, because remember I mentioned the south being the congested, and they're going to get all those loot which comes with extra shields and HP at times.
Nico and Pink up against Volko Vortexers. Both duos quite centered in the zone here. They shouldn't have to make much of a rotate at all, but as you can see, the damage required for Surge will continue increasing. You can hear that noise. It's a panic for a lot of players in the lobby, just like Wheat and Shimoki. We're 164 below. They see the rift close by, but what they're more interested in are those shots onto Pablo, are those shots on the players. We're contesting the Rift Island. You can see an engagement happening up above. Is that where Wheat wants to go, as he already gets chased by another player?
Doesn't really have a choice here. Down on Surge team trying to push into their box. And further falling down from 192 below the damage threshold. His only chance here is to fight back, especially with teams all around getting focused in the box. As Hero could away, even putting shots in that direction, really not allowing Wheat and Smokey to find any stride here in the fight. Even got Lazen on the other side, trying to break in from the low ground. This is just so chaotic and desperate to try to get Storm Surge for some of these players, and it's just costing them everything because now Wheat is out of heals.
Out of heals, put into panic. As now the altercations between Pablo as he gets knocked. Bevies, the last player of the duo that's up, but with just 7 HP. He needs to take out more than just one player. He needs to pop that med kit. Unable to, goes down. Wheat as well knocked. Shamoki following after, as Lox is the only one left alongside Darkus.
This is the biggest and most prime example of a no-win situation I've ever seen outside of Zone. Even the ones that we saw that were still alive, very little chance being able to make it back. Malibuca and Merstash trying to bulldoze through their opponents. Storm Surge is important. 523 points, though. They have taken back first place, trying to claim it as their own. Right history for Malibuca. First FNCS title up for grabs here today.
Medkits being popped, big pots being split. You can see 6 zone already coming to a close. All the duos now forced to rotate here as the ones boxed up, looking back. Merstash, can he connect? Zooming in with that Reaper sniper rifle, looking to send his opponents to the shadows. With just 25 above, they could really use that shot. As Merstash goes left, Malibuca goes right, they split up. Huge shot connected though. It could be enough to put them above, but they don't want to get themselves into an opponent's box here. They want to regroup. They want to take shots from afar. They don't want to do anything too risky.
Yeah, and as soon as they find themselves a spot that they can box up and look back, even though they're not in zone, they're going to take it. But now teams that are already congested inside of the zone, looking back at them, making them the focal point of their target. Luckily for everybody, we're going down a little bit up this hill. Changes the line of sights, not giving everybody equal opportunity. Wax Pixie, they're still trying to make their way in towards zone, which leaves them open to shots coming out from Merstash and Malibuca. They get themselves above the damage threshold, but it comes at a cost. Shield is gone from Malibuca and some of his HP as well.
They saw the crack. It changes focus as pressure is on. Wax able to recuperate that shield that he lost, but still with the low HP. The shots continue connecting. Yan is close by. In the pact of chaos that's the surrounding area of Merstash and Malibuca. 30 just seconds left until 8th zone, and players are still rotating in.
See them just trying to target out anybody they can for Surge. Jump on board Queasy, Thomas in this replay. They're just going to try to make their way towards the zone. But first, making a little bit of a pit stop to try to gather a little bit more loot. Great find by Thomas. Him and Queasy trying to take back that first place throne. It's going to be a hard-fought battle, literally to the very last game, Takata.
Those are the game-winning shots, Jacob. Those are the game-winning shots that Queasy and Thomas need to get back up to first place. Currently in third. They had the hiccups from the early game. One big game could set them up in the last match. Cade now has lost Diox. He is alone, but he has a decent amount of damage. 2 medkits as well to top it off. As Storm Surge, the warning once again, advising these players to do damage. So many players close by, but you don't want to risk it all.
Especially since we are in the 7th zone with about 50 players still left alive. You know, it usually comes down to a situation where I do believe it's like 10 or so players need to go down. It's actually 4 at this stage, and then more so after that. It's not going to be the easiest thing as 8 more players still need to fall. Merstash, Malibuca, they're going to be low on Surge. They have no other choice but to go in. That's Wax, that's Pixie, who feel their force. And with that, they not only get all that loot, the mythic loot as well, but they get above the damage threshold. But still pressure coming from different angles. Merstash ends up being yet another box, but it doesn't matter. Sends Aqua back to the lobby. No Noah in sight. That team's done and dusted here in Game 10.
Merstash, Malibuca charged up as they look electric, fueling themselves for the rest of this late game. For Thomas HD and Queasy on the contrary, Thomas able to get a knock. Queasy just 1 HP I hope they were able to get out of that scenario. I'm trying to look for them. I see Queasy. He has shield now. It looks like they've made some sort of a comeback from that fight, securing 5 eliminations during it. But they need those medkits, Jacob. They really need to heal up.
Yeah, even Thomas is getting tagged up along the way. Shield isn't too much of a worry overall. They do have the medallion to pass around, but it's the HP in which they're heavily lacking. Queasy cannot take one tick to that zone where he will go down. Cade still finding any crevice that he can gain some confidence on as he tries to move up onto Hen. Hen was ready to fight back, but somebody chopped him down to size. Might have been a blessing in disguise for Cade because he's above the damage threshold, right towards the zone as well. He just needs to be able to find some builds, whether if it's a refresh or something that gets left behind. Cade needs to go on the hunt.
Yeah, with 6 builds, it is a dangerous situation to be in as Thomas HD Queasy now building up top once again. We've seen players hold on from the first moving zone all the way to the end. Can they be one of the duos to do so? They're lacking HP. All they really need is a refresh to grant them those med kits or grant them anything that they can use to heal back up.
And look at that race to the finish. 31 points separating these two teams. There's well over 30 points still left in this game in terms of placement. And it's going to be a battle between these two to who can outlast the other. And Queasy and Thomas need to get a couple more placements over Malibuca and Mustache, or maybe kind of outmatch it with eliminations. Medkits, big pots are coming out. Malibuca and Mustache getting ready for this next rotation. But first, they're going to try to disrupt a couple of these teams before they go ahead and make that rotation possible. Cade goes in, gets a knock. Pressure coming in from all angles. Not able to clean up the elimination before he goes down himself.
Be careful as Thomas HD Queasy now forced to fight second high. Do they have what it takes to maintain it? It was Cammy, it was Seti down below, applying that pressure as they're back up top.
Yep. We've seen this in that last game. Of course, Queasy was just a little bit more healthy, but they were somehow able to find the med kit in which they were looking for. Great eliminations, a great find for them from top to bottom, high ground to low. Mustache Malibuca being the defining force. It's like everybody, whether they're up or bottom, has to go through these two teams if they're looking to take a huge VR. And Malibuca and Mustache, they want to get to the front side of the zone. They're tired of being last. Thomas hits a nice snipe on the Darky. Everything comes crumbling down, but Queasy and Thomas are quickly able to find their footing and save the day.
Grapple Blade continuing to be used no longer with height. It's been given up as now they've been split. They need to regroup. You have to be careful here. You cannot lose your duo partner, but the chemistry isn't high enough. Thomas HD cracked, 60 HP, takes a shot at the pixel, gets out of the box, and now continues to find his duo.
Yeah, Medallion clicking him up. Malibuca, Mustache goes down. It's this amount of placing differential that Thomas and Queasy need to overtake that first place spot. They have 6 eliminations and looking for more. They set their eyes to the backside of the zone. It is pulling in that direction. They know somebody's there, but it's Eclipse. He's trying to start his heal off early to gather more placement.
They have no materials, though. They need to make something big happen. As from Ozone to Stratosphere in the sky, Yanis and Flixie, as high as they can be. Thomas HD, though, down in the dirt as he crawls towards his enemies.
Yeah, they don't really have enough to look up towards the sky. They're doing the bare minimum to stay alive from one stage to the next. And they know somebody's pressuring them from above. Time is running out. Builds are looking thin. Queasy, Thomas are going to have to look to make a play on a player, but it's them. Queasy gets aggressed on from the backside of zone, but the tables have turned. Hari's going to be able to get a knock onto one, but a ton of damage onto Thomas. Seti's going to complete the flank. Queasy's fighting for his life out here, and he gets the elimination onto Seti. Finds a couple of builds, but the zone is forcing him into a whole nother team's hands.
Somebody call security. Queasy's looking unstoppable as he needs to make something happen. Zone gets the best of him. Kiduo still up with 4. Can they get 5? They get the knock off the sky, but the duo up above, it's Yanis x Flixie.
They already have one VR in the tournament yesterday. They're looking to go ahead and grab another one. Flixie came here to play. Yanis taking the high ground, denying all entry to Kiro and Kiduo as the first down to come through. Yanis and Flixie, 8 elims. They make it look easy as they take the game by force.
What a way to close off the second to last match. Once again, a drastic change in the leaderboard. These grand finals have been way too intense, Jacob. I just cannot wait to see how they unfold.
This is just really turning out to be a photo finish. A knock on the pixel gets the elimination, dropping down, and Flixie, He's been around. He's been here. Not enough respect gets on his name, and with domination just like this, Giannis and Flixie moving up the leaderboard. Hey, this could be his first FNCS championship.
Look, Giannis was actually duoed up with Fadil when Fadil secured his first ever and only FNCS title. So seeing Giannis back at it again now with Flixie winning the second last match, I'm only curious to see if they can bring that momentum into the last match of the day.
Yeah, and throughout the course of that game, Malibuca, Mustache going toe-to-toe with Queasy and Thomas. I said they needed to go down with a big gap of placement between them. It happened. But did Queasy and Thomas do enough to take first place? Frankie, please, I need your help. Let us know.
They made a ton of effort, so I'd be surprised if their efforts did not pay off, because when I watch this duo of Queasy and Thomas, I see a duo that has never wanted to win a major more, especially in Thomas's case. However, they didn't take the victory royale just then. What we did see was a true comeback story, and this is what we were talking about at the start of the show. We love to see a duo rise up, and I can't wait to see what's happened to Giannis and Flixie in the rankings since that epic performance. 8 eliminations. They were not playing shy in this final endgame mini minor.
Yeah, they weren't. And this is exactly what we've seen from this duo in the past. The past season has been a height-dominant season for them when it comes to finding success. If they're going to find success, it always seems to come from that high ground position. And again, we've seen it. We've seen a bit of a rocky road for them today and towards the latter end of yesterday as well. So it's nice to see them sort of rekindling some of the success they had yesterday. I think it was game number 2 they got a victory on in a very similar manner as well. So this is a team that I spoke very highly of at the beginning of the weekend, and it's nice to see them coming back to that now, because it seems like they maybe lost their heads a little bit at the beginning of the day, but they've got them back now.
Yeah, I think one of the problems they were having is that Robin and Medax were supposed to be contesting them sort of over towards that reckless area, and so that was supposed to help them with early surge, and then maybe sort of getting involved in that, you know, the tower. Sorry, for the tower fight with Kiro and Pink. I lost my train of thought there. But a bit more passively, I think with Robin and Medax leaving Reckless, they had to get a bit more involved in that fight, which hasn't quite gone their way. And now this, you know, time round, they're sort of finding their feet again. And again, this isn't a team that expected to have to rise, right? They were supposed to just be a team up contending, and so now with that game, it does put them back into at least like a top 10 area.
Boys, let's take a look at the leaderboard. I can't contain anticipation any longer. Who is in that top spot? And there you have it. Queasy and Thomas, a well-deserved shot at the X of Champions, because their consistency for making those end games with higher limbs continues to impress. Levin.
I mean, I'm almost starting to get tired of talking about just how good Thomas in particular is. I mean, some of the shots we're seeing him hit are just, it's out of this world. I mean, he must have now probably around 15, 16 snipes mini. Like, it is just ridiculous the things this guy is doing. This one here early in the game, I mean, do not open up a window. Just don't even bother, because Thomas is going to be somewhere with a sniper waiting, and it's going to be the end of your game. He was hitting shots mid-air, snipes to get a height. The variety here. And there's moments like this one mini where I'm looking at them now. Queasy's very low. He's not the greatest of HP. You're thinking, okay, yeah, it's over. The game's done. But no, he keeps hitting shots.
And I mean, it just, again, look at this. Ready? Oh, that is unbelievable. It's something that we just expect from Thomas HD. And yet, we expect that. We still get surprised every single time it happens, because he can just pull crazy things out of the hat, make some magic happen almost every single time. He's almost got a 25-minute highlight reel just from his clutches from today alone. And it's great to see that from this duo. And we said it. We've talked about this duo's versatility. We've talked about their ability to play height. We talked about their ability to play low ground as well. And when you have someone like Thomas just hitting those snipes, it becomes a lot easier to find yourself in a favorable position in those games. I sort of asked the question about this duo, you know, are they going to be able to perform when the zone isn't in their favor? Those first 3 games we saw it in their favor. That game a lot more south, like we saw yesterday, and they're performing. They're doing incredibly well. So this is a duo that if they can make it off spawn in these last 2 games here, this could be their FNCS for the win.
Look, we've seen many great FNCS performances from Thomas individually. If he was to win, you know, today, it would probably be his best one yet in terms of just the things he's doing crazy. Absolutely crazy.
I do love that he is fighting his ex-duo, though, Malibuca, for that top spot. And Merstash and Malibuca have been another revelation for me, because this is a duo that has actually formed before back in Chapter 3. They went their separate ways. Not exactly sure why, because the way they're playing together now is magic, Vinny.
It absolutely is, yeah. And it's nice to see these guys again continuing that consistency, despite that Malibuca hasn't had that FNCS win yet. They're not getting ahead of themselves. They're making sure to stick to their game. This game, though, unfortunately for them, wasn't quite as good as we've seen them. I think it was around a 14th position where they ended up placing here. And it just turned into a little bit of a mess in this current situation. You can see them on the screen. Everything was going a little bit wrong for them at those mid-ground layers, which is kind of contrary to what we've seen from them throughout the day. They've been very, very consistent. So for these guys, I don't doubt that they'll still be in the running for the first place. It's just whether they need to have one of their massive games like we know them for in Hearthstone.
Well, I mean, they better be in the running, because otherwise Thomas and Queasy are going to walk away with it. Like the point differential between them and everyone else is really starting to be a big gap. So, you know, if you aren't a fan of Thomas, which I'd be surprised if you aren't, but if you're not, you're going to be rooting for Malibuca and Merstash right now, because they are the ones that could be the team that takes it away. And so it looks like, regardless, we're going to see a new champion, someone who's never had it before. And I think on both sides, whether it's Malibuca, whether it's Thomas, it is very, very deserving. And it's just so fascinating how we have a repeat, Frankie, right, of last year, where it was like, last year it was the battle between Malibuca and Merstash, who was going to get it first. This time now it's the battle between Thomas and Malibuca. Again, who's going to be the one to get their first FNCS? It's just crazy.
Well, the soldiers are lining up on the battlefield and war is about to commence. We only have 2 more games left, gents. So let's head over to our casters, to Carter and Jacob PR for game number 11.
Let me tell you something real quick, Takata. Those who don't learn from their mistakes are doomed to repeat them. And this being kind of a 2-horse race towards the end, Malibuca made that mistake. He went down. He lost by mere points in Major 1 of last year. Do you think this is his road to redemption?
Look, I don't know if I even want to answer your question. I mean, what a way to enter the last match. You said it yourself. Malibuca hasn't yet won an FNCS. Might be one of the most deserving players who has yet to take home a title. The battle bus is ready. Last game of the day. Let's get into it.
This is it. With very few chances left here on the day. 2 games left overall for teams to pick up points. This is the game. This is the game that could lose you the FNCS if you're Queasy, Thomas, Malibuca, and Merstash. If you go down early, it is all over. And it almost looks like Queasy, Thomas, uncontested.
Wow.
Does that help or hurt them? Huge. I have to ask you, without Surge and Crimson Noms early on, does that help or hurt them?
That's a good question, but I'm going to say it helps them, Jacob, because from going down right off spawn without getting a single point, it could be the deciding factor of your tournament. So now having the freedom to loot off spawn, not worry about taking that engagement. You know how skilled Queasy and Thomas HD are. They're veterans. They know how to get Surge. Confident mechanically, they can make it happen. But for Marius and Sandguild, can they do the same?
I love the cheeky play coming out from Belusi, trying to go up and over. Flowberry, his teammate trying to go up. Marius trying to alleviate the pressure. It's like a shooting range. Sandguild's going to go up. He's going to come down, but he's going to get knocked. Trade comes out. Marius doing enough to get the knock on the Gabix. Belusi trying to drop down low. He cannot clean it up. He cannot be a hero. He ends up with 0 points in this game as Marius and Sandguild stand tall.
Good way to start it off, but for how long will that safety last? You saw another duo coming in. Do they know that they are in the cone is the question. It's Teeny. It's Misha. Yes, they do. Shots come through. Pressure is on.
It's gotten personal between these two teams. Teeny, Misha trying to go in and cause destruction, and they do successfully get the eliminations. Marius and Sandguild go back to the lobby with only 1 game left.
Right, this is the second to the last match, game 11. One more to be played out after this. Malabuka and Merstash once again having the Medallion, Mythic Loot, and Vault uncontested. But there seems to be actually an engagement to the west of them happening. Looks like maybe a new duo has entered the realm of Fencing Fields. As we take a quick look at the leaderboard. It's close, Jacob. It's close.
Just, when was the last time we see an FNCS this close outside of Major 4? Really coming down to the last 2 games. Vidil, Reason. United has never felt so good. That gives them equal opportunity to try to finally take the fight to Walks and Pixie, in which we've seen them come out on top more times than not throughout this weekend. It almost looks like they're trying to draw the NPC out as well to try to get an easy elimination, being cautious as possible. They don't want to get caught off guard to Walks and Pixie.
Crash Pad comes through. They leave. As now Peter Griffin NPC will be eliminated here for Vidil and Reason, as it looks like they've secured the benefit now of Snooty Steps.
They're going to get it all to themselves. See another team just south of Snooty Steps. That's Pixie, that's Walks. They disengaged, and I do believe Vidil and Reason don't necessarily chase those eliminations towards the outside. They want to play this one out, especially with only 2 games left. Slowly but surely fell down the leaderboard a little bit farther than they would have hoped. But this is their chance to really pick back up the pace along with Bevy and Pablo. Insane solo clutches by Pablo to start the day off. They just got to find that momentum and really bring it back.
Savage and Mongrel here. Taking a bit longer this time around to finish off the off-spawn fight. 4 elims already on Mr. Savage. Where did those come from? That's what's on my mind. Maybe they did finish it off quickly as another snipe. Not able to connect. But there's still so many duos in the area.
In theory, 2 first places would get him 200 points alone. He already has 4 eliminations. That's another 24 points right there.
Okay, you're cooking something here.
I'm just trying to draw up a situation here where Mongrel and Savage have an opportunity, if not to take first place, maybe get a shot at the global championship. I feel like anything is possible, but they definitely need to pick it up. Astral and Artskill going for the dive bomb play, coming out from above with the crash pad. Gears not going to fall for that one. He has the grapple blade. He's immediately trying to get on out. And I'm looking all over the minimap. There's Hari. He's nowhere in sight. So Geary's probably by himself trying to create some distance so that way he has a chance to bring his teammate back.
Yeah, Chari has been eliminated. So Kiras is going to have the fortunate item of the grapple blade to try and disengage. But do their opponents have it? Will they chase him down? As he's crouched up now, trying to do what he can to be a little sneaky. Even his outfit here kind of matches those crates. So, I probably would pass by it without seeing him, but will Artskill and Astral, sorry.
This reminds me of week 1 when we were casting and Cammy was just hiding next to the mountain. That duo just jumped right over him, didn't see him at all, but whole different situation, especially in a POI like Ritzy Riviera. A lot of buildings, a lot of hiding spots, just like you saw. But it's that time. Forest Cast Towers now making their appearance. Kido and Kiro get it uncontested this time around. No Pink, no Vico in sight. Hopefully that's going to help their game. 376 points. It is looking good.
Yep. They've secured it alongside that elimination. Who the elimination was on is what I'm wondering. As you can hear them taking shots. But so far, it's kind of up to the next objective now. As iDrop has lost Nebs. 4 in the zone as well. This is a battle that can end up with no victor if it plays out too long. There is that loot from one of the players that got eliminated on the ground, though, that he's going to be able to pick right back up. And it looks like he's not even going to try and take this fight as iDrop continues to escape.
Yeah, with no real HP, iDrop almost has no other option unless he's just hoping that opponent has some med kits or bandages, and that's would be the only real tense to take that fight. So he's trying to go for the high percentage play and bringing his teammate back. as we jump on board. Game 4 Victory Royale winners, Yanis and Flixie. A little bit more of a trouble here towards Reckless Railways, but this at the same time, you heard the analysts break it down. They thought they were going to be contested, which would help with their surge. Found out they weren't. Now a team moving over there at POI, and this is their chance to really find the surge that they were lacking late in some of our previous games.
John making use of the campfire, getting a little cozy here. But with his teammate down, it's only going to last so long. He needs to find some sort of way to bring him back in the match. Being so far in zone, though, you can assume there's not too many duos close by, if any. So he should be able to pick him up. The harder part is going to be getting back into the game, making it to zone, looting up, getting enough damage to outlive the Storm Surge. That is going to be the true journey for this duo. But for Axf and Raban, it looks like they are playing once again around the forecast tower.
Trying to claim it for themselves, push some other teams off. Reason, Vidil. An opportunity here for eliminations, looking towards the backside. They're not just focused onto one team. Misses the sniper, sets his eyes back on the prize, which is Scroll and Sky towards the other side of that. A couple of teams stacked up over here towards the shipping station. So they don't want to get too congested in a fight. It doesn't really matter too much this early on. Mustache, on the other hand, he's able to take down Cade. Probably not too far off from their drop spot, just north of Fencing Field. Diox is going to be the next target in sight. Malabuka, Mustache using the strength in numbers to try to take him down, but both of them dropped weak. 8 shields disappeared just like that.
The threat becomes a reality as Mustache was cracked. Now Malabuka forced to pop that Flowberry Fizz, healed them back up. Good news is they have the upper hand in terms of players. It's just Diox, and he gets quickly taken out. Now they've picked up those extra eliminations, those extra points, and continue on.
Yeah, it's important because throughout that last game, we saw them kind of forced to interact because of Surge. As Cade left himself just a little too open with the snipers in the game. All they need is just a crack, a crevice to sneak those shots in. Happening yet again. We got Venom, we got Thomas, and now we have Mustache just lighting things up with the sniper.
You can see how beneficial it can be to carry a sniper, especially if you can hit your shots. It can truly turn around the tournament. Malabuka and Mustache now, with a good amount of damage, will continue getting the best position they possibly can. And it looks like based on this structure, the tower, this castle almost, that Thomas HD and Queasy have built on the roof of Lavish Lair, you can only assume that they pulled zone, which is correct there. Issue is, though, you said it, Jacob, they weren't contested this time around, so they haven't got that initial damage from the duo that landed around them. They will have to get tags on the players rotating through, and right now the only option for that is Mr. Savage and Mongrel.
Did look like they were eyeing that opportunity, but just like you said, they have zone in their favor. They don't want to do too much, especially if it does pull teams towards the north, even pull teams downward like we saw in that last game. His gear is fine, have a chance here to get his teammate back. Doesn't want to do it too soon because then that draws attention in your direction. At least he was able to find medkits, so it doesn't matter how long he takes at this stage in the game. It's only a 1 tick, so not too much damage being done. And you kind of add in the fact that we've shifted kind of away from the heal-offs in which we were seeing throughout the qualifiers to almost all-out brawls for victories.
I think the only kind of heal-off we had was when Queasy was on height by the train tracks today. So it's been very engaging late games here for the grand finals. Yanis Flixie, our Game 4 winners, previous match. Continuing around the Reckless Railways, you can see the players rotating through more up north now as they want to get deeper into the zone. Meanwhile, there's some that have yet to even make it out of the zone.
Oof. As we tune on, Vico just getting sniped. Him and Pink changing up their strategy in game 11. Second to last chance. Instead of early rotating on over to the forecast tower, even fighting Kiro and Kudo for it, they're just trying to play this one out. And on their way there, they're going to find their combat cache. They'll be the first one to it, but they have to be careful. That's Venno. That's Tayson on the other side. And really the only way Venno and Tayson can make up the point differential is through eliminations and high placing games. And And with the aggression that they showed ramping up over the last couple of games, this could be a fight that they're ready to fight to the end.
Yeah, Veno Tayson is not a duo you want to go up against in a combat cash fight, being the players they are. But Pink and Vico as well, incredibly dominant. Issue is there's even more duos, well, just one duo here in the surrounding area that could cause some trouble. So as shots continue, angles get looked for. This could even be one for Veno. He hits one tag, but it's not going to be anything big. The wall of place coming through. All they want is that big pump shot. 58 isn't going to be enough to crack them, but little by little, they get that HP and shield advantage.
Yeah, that was a great shot by Vico to kind of answer back on the Veno. He's trying to scrape together all the loot into his box. Not much left. I do see a med kit, but everybody here in the situation is about full HP, except for Pink, who's going to disengage out of this fight. Doesn't want to overstay, even though they're the first one to the cache. Veno Tayson immediately interrupting that. And in the distance, Kiro and Kuruo are attempting to third party this. Now it's just going to become them and Veno and Tayson, and it's up to them if they want to try to pounce on top of this while they have the opportunity to do so.
I don't think they know that Kuruo and Kiro are even there. One of them was in a bush, the other crashed up on the previous build, so they should have an opportunity to at least take shots and do a bit of damage. If it's enough damage to pursue the aggression zone, go for the eliminations is what we'll have to find out. Reason for deal now.
Uh-oh.
Together. Both of them boxed up. This fourth zone is coming to a close.
From 26 points to start this off to 14-point difference. Malibuca and Mustache slowly but surely closing that gap as this game progresses. Still 13 teams need to go down before placement points start to come in for a lot of these teams. So you don't want to spend all this time in the game just to go down without anything to show for it. Volko almost on the receiving end of yet another Mustache snipe. Always threading the needle and having some close calls. Shaco, Skydune, take down Darky and Darkest, send them fully back to the lobby. That's going to be 6th and 7th place out as well on that leaderboard inside of the top 10, which opens up an opportunity for somebody to overtake them here in game 11.
A lot of the duos now on the edge of the zone based up. As 5th zone will appear, and they'll see how much of a rotate they do have to do. It's going to be Pablo Bevies, though, a little bit further down below. And as the zone does pull more up north, these duos have to start planning their rotate. Do we let the teams in front of us rotate first? Do we use any of the mobility items we can? Maybe a combination of a crash pad flowberry, maybe just the grapple blade, or even just walking down below as everybody kind of flies through the skies. There's a lot of options. Bevies and Pablos, though, are just going to use the grapple blade.
We got one reboot going off into the distance. Let's say, what can he get? Another med kit coming out. Here he's just trying to give himself a fair shot. But my question is, does he even have the reboot card? Because there was a few chances there he could have ran back to some reboots and get it. But a nice snipe lands and connects on the arc, leaving his duo all by himself. Now a solo, but he's trying to go ahead and get aggressive. Avenge his teammate. Shot's going to get fired through. 50 shield gone just like that. Space is green created by Gears and his opponent, especially because those third-party shots are now beginning to come in and float in their direction.
One bullet in the chamber is all Giras had until he secured that elimination. Now 6 more opportunities with that refresh, even 96 above Surge. That is the shot he needed to hit to continue going forwards. But as he's been cracked, he's going to be forced to once again stay in zone. And on the contrary, Mustache has been eliminated as well. Malibuca left as a solo. Pressure is on as he knocks down one. The 1 versus 1, but the third party's continuing to take shots.
Yeah, Chexy's still moving his way in. Other players as well. I got Volko on the other side. He found a little crevice underneath the water, still trying to hold on to his position, play defensive, but he's running out of builds. 521 above the damage threshold. Volko and Vortex just come in, and they cause a huge distraction to find both of those eliminations, possibly saving the day for Malibuca. They have an opportunity here to continue to go on the hunt. This is a big decision here for Volko and Vortex. There's going to be so many different implications to the leaderboard.
Inside of the storm, it makes this scenario 10 times more difficult. as Malibuca is still up somehow. He has recuperated his materials. Now that he knows the duo has left, he can pop that Flowberry Fizz for the shield. One more med kit left to keep him up, but such a ways away from the zone. 3 med kits actually, as he's found some from the ground. You gotta repeat what we saw from the semifinals.
So he's doing the math there. Thinking if he can go to the backside of the zone and get the reboot. He's checking if anybody else is slowly rotating in. Malibuca's going to try to go for a repeat. You see a replay, 172 below the damage threshold. Prism knocked on the long door. There is no treats in that house, only tricks, but it backfires there momentarily. Bevies goes down. Cammy goes in. Him and Seti are poised to have a good comeback here on the day.
Malibuca's made it back in. He has used one of the rifts from the Rift Island, as he still wants to recuperate that shield and HP. He has enough consumables in his inventory, but you can see at the mini-map, looks like a whole army of players now flying on in, trying to mark, you know, where do we land? Do we go on top of the builds? We don't want to land in the same place as the other players. Stay away from the action is what Malibuca's thinking, being 471 above as Nebs now stops. And potentially you're going to look for a shot, but Malibuca so far, just one more shield left. If he ends up getting cracked, the focus is on him. He cannot let that happen.
And the 50-50 opened up. This is the same scenario he was in when he qualified to the FNCS Grand Finals. Looking for a repeat opportunity. Gears was unable to get Hari's reboot card, so he's been playing this one out as a solo with no real choice in the matter, and now he's 90 below the damage threshold. This is going to be a sticky situation for him to try to survive, especially if he becomes the target of a lobby just like that.
He hit a headshot snipe earlier on with just 1 bullet in the chamber. Now it's 6 opportunities, 6 options. He needs to make it happen once again, forced to pop the big pot to tank a little bit of the storm surge. As the clock's ticking, the lightning striking, he needs to find an opening. Sniper in hand, he cannot find anything. Gyros, please, just 1 shot is all it takes.
He's always really peeking. There's no opportunities. He actually gets shot up from across Storm Surge. He can only take 1 more tick, and nobody even peeks. He's going to go down, and it's actually Cammy, I believe, that got credit for that elimination. 6 more points for Seti and Cammy. Slowly but surely crawling out from the depths of the bottom of the leaderboard. Reason, Vidil below Storm Surge themselves, but they have the Flowberry Fizz. All of it's going to be used for the most part to try to heal themselves up and get out of zone. They still have a rotation to make. Everything is kind of stacking up against Reason and Vidil in a situation like this, but he finds a duo trying to rotate themselves. Well-played shot, but not enough still to get above the threshold.
Currently in that 3rd place spot. Malibuca is also playing as a solo. Issue is the 1st place duo, Queasy and Thomas, still both looking healthy. As Reason has lost his partner, the deal is down. 28 HP for Reason, no medkits. 13 now, just 1 shot in the sniper rifle, and he needs that impact.
Yeah, still below. Finally able to get above, but the ping pong is there. That shows how much damage is being dished around the lobby. Malibuca, he's above the threshold, but just a sliver of HP, no shields to regain. Storm is pushing him in as well. There's only so much of that medkit he could actually use.
Takes shots, but Reason goes down. It's Queasy as well. It looks like he's been knocked as Malibuca left as a solo. Thomas HD left as a solo. All our top 3 duos as solos.
Thomas, he'll pick up big, and he goes down. Thomas goes down. Malibuca's chance. At one point or another, we saw it was a 14-point differential between Malibuca Mustache, Queasy, and Thomas. The foot race will continue, but it all matters here. How many placings Malibuca is actually able to pick up? About 2, maybe even 3 more. He will overtake that 1st place spot, and from there, it's all bonus.
The last player in the top 3 that is up. Every point is gold from Malibuca. And Tayson, only 11 above, already taken damage from Storm Surge. They have that medallion to recuperate a bit of shield. With both players being extremely low, just 1 shot away from getting knocked or even eliminated. They have to keep moving forwards. Tayson's down. Benno, another solo. All the top players are going down.
I love the attempt coming out. If you're going to swing, you better swing big. He gets taken down altogether trying to fight Kiro and Kudo on the high ground. We're going up this mountain, and then this next zone pulls. We're going down it as well. Malibuca playing this one near perfectly, trying to stay alive with just 20 HP, but I might have cursed him with only 3 or 4 placings of differential. I'm not even sure Malibuca was able to take first.
Moni, Lunex, we'll have to find out, as now it's a game for the top half of the leaderboard. These players that on the midsection have a brand new, bright opportunity to make themselves new crowned leaders. Kiro, Kiduo are going to be the ones on height. 4 elims on the board. With this type of zone as well, they should be able to hold on.
Figure out who's next in line on that leaderboard. Just kind of move up. But a lot of our top competitors going down early in this game in terms of the amount of placement points they can actually grab. 404 for Vico. For them to move up the leaderboards for sure. Plenty of points still on the board. 209 above the threshold. And they have some elevation, but Vico's looking down at Pink. How can he help his teammate out? And he realizes he can no longer be the hero to this duo. He's going to be stuck by himself now as a solo.
800 materials, though. 75 builds. He has more than enough to stay up. He has the damage. No risks are needed for Vico currently, but he could use those eliminations on the players rotating through. Kiduo, Kiro continuing to drop down now, all the way in the clouds as Mongrel Savage still up. I drop as well as a solo, 359 above.
This is a solo nightmare for a lot of these players that are trying to use the second to last opportunity to burst up the leaderboard and give themselves a fighting shot for that first place, or maybe even a global championship spot, top 2 at the bare minimum. Cringe, you can see him over on the other side. It looks like switching away from Lavish Layer was a great play for them because now they've made it to the end game.
Moni, Lunex, 4 on the board, about to grapple blade down below. You got to be careful, though. It's the same plan as a lot of these other duos. You don't want to get mixed up in an opponent's box as they quickly change layers now. A bit safer, but the pressure from above will come through. It's the height team taking shots. They don't want anybody overtaking them, so they're going to keep applying that pressure to the duos close by.
And we're going up the mountain yet again. A lot of players going through a roller coaster of emotions, almost figuratively and literally, as Vico, somebody's knocking at the box on the low side. Shaco's and Aaron going ahead and battling it out between each other. Shaco is going to be the one that gets dropped down. iDrop continuing to move forward as a solo and somehow finds an elimination onto Roban, giving them 6 more points. Crucial points here at a moment like this.
20 HP, 20 builds, not much to work with for iDrop. All he needs to do now is find that solo, find that potential impact elimination, but it's a duo close by. You got to pick your fight correctly here, iDrop. So many healthy duos, but also so many solos in shambles. He has to find the correct one. It's Lunex above, still staying at the edge of the zone, hits the first shots. It's a crack onto his opponents, but he goes down.
The majority of the lobby is just running around as solos here. About 5 of them to be exact, Vico being one of them. Without builds, he's kind of forcing himself lower and lower, especially with the zone moving down that mountain. A little bit of a blessing in disguise as Mongrel finally goes down. 6 eliminations for him and Savage, and an end game has been achieved. Definitely enough points to move up the leaderboard a few spaces, but not where they would hope.
Lunex now left alone. Kiduo, Kiro still up above, taking shots. They don't want anybody getting close to them. Do they have medkits to hold it off? Do they even need it? As Sinet and Vanyak pick up one more. It's Vico now, though, looking to secure another elimination.
Just finds those refresh materials. Not a ton, but at least it's something for Vico to use on the low ground. Vasquez there as well. Vanyak and Sinet, one of the only duos still left alive other than Kiro and Kuduo on the high ground. So it's a duo's dream here, moving through all these solos. Vico missed opportunity as Vasquez able to bounce around and get out alive.
4 still on the board for Vico. No materials, though. He has 5 bandages, but it's not going to be as powerful as medkits. He needs to make something happen. Kiro dropped below to cause disruption on the low ground, leaving Kiduo up top, but with no medkits, he's going to have to go for an elimination.
Yeah, and you see Artskill already starting that heal off towards the backside of the zone. He might be able to take it if he has a few medkits, because this is going to come down to a fight. Sinet, Vasquez, Kiduo, all 3 players still battling it out as solos here towards the front side of the zone. Artskill, he's able to at least get 1 more placing point for Zephyr. The final battle's going out. Sinet versus Kiduo, and the heal off doesn't last towards the outside of the zone, but he stole together a couple of more placements before the game was finally stolen away.
played perfectly with what they had. Kiduo quickly realizing he had no medkit. He had to go against that last player standing on the low ground, but knowing that he wasn't using a medkit, knowing that he most likely had more HP at 90, he took his time, he took his shots, and he took the victory royale.
Yeah, that's the perfect thing. Realizing the situation that you're in and making the most of it. Having the high ground, well-placed snipes from below, and even battling back to hold on to their position. Well-placed shot. That's how we saw Savage go down. Mongrel fell shortly after. These guys are picking up the pace at the perfect moment, Takada.
Blessed zone as well for the duo, being so high up in the clouds for the difficult roller coaster of a zone of the players who are rotating through the hill, the icy, slippery slope down below. Kiro Kiduo finished it off strong.
And you got to imagine where it started. The biggest change up from day one and day two. Pink and Vico did not contest that forecast tower, which gave it over to Kiro and Kiduo for free. Being able to see the next zone has to be a blessing for them. They've won the game, but with only one game left, I'm going to throw it to our analysts one more time to figure out where everybody stands with the last chance around the corner.
Thank you so much, Takata and Jacob. What a game. It was so exciting to see some of the names that perhaps we haven't got to talk about over the weekend surge to the top, the mid ground and the low ground. And with Kiro and Kajiro, they did clutch that high ground. And then Kajiro himself clutched the victory royale. And this is a duo that we spoke a lot about in the upper bracket of the semi-finals. But I've been waiting to see them have a performance like this, Levin. And I'm so glad we got to see that.
I think it's one of the few examples of where we've seen them get that forecast tower with some relative ease, and that definitely has played a part. They've been involved in that sort of heinous battle all weekend long, Mini, and it's been one that they've come on top of on some occasions and not in others, but they make things work, and I think that is what makes this duo so impressive.
Yeah, when they do make it to endgame, they seem to do really well, particularly with that forecast tower, as you mentioned, particularly in those sort of mountainous zones as well. If you have zones that are going to be pulling over hills, all the other players that don't know where that's going to go ahead of time, they can't plan ahead. So for Kiro and Kiduo, you saw them on height. They needed to be elevated. They knew that ahead of time, so they could sort of pre-plan and pre-prep for that. And really nicely well played, of course, as well. We saw some nice clutches there throughout the game from those guys. And of course, the clutch out the win at the end is always good for them.
They might not be in a position to take the Axe of Champions at the end of this next game. However, don't forget, every placement counts. Every placement you get gets you potentially higher in terms of that prize pool and getting a bigger bag. So obviously our duos are still fighting for those positions at the end of the day. However, there are a number of duos who are still in contention for the Axe of Champions. So let's take a look at the leaderboard. With the big names falling so early in that last game, it kind of hasn't changed that much at the top, apart from, of course, when it comes to Kiro and Kajiro Mini Miner. And you know what? I was wrong. 530 points. If they had the game of their lives and didn't, maybe there's an opportunity there.
Yeah, if we see a repeat of what we just saw right there, we could be saying Kiro and Kiduo are our FNCS champions for Chapter 5 Season 1. But we have to imagine here, with how both of these top two teams are playing, it's coming down to a two-horse race realistically. We saw, of course, both those teams being left down to a solo in that end game. It was actually the players that hadn't won an FNCS yet that were trying to fight for those extra few placement points in Thomas and Malabuka. And, I mean, this is exciting, Levin, because we have one team that are contested, one team that have the tendency maybe to not have that great of an end game in Mustache and Malabuka. So it's like, if Queasy and Thomas make it off spawn here, could be theirs for the taking, but Mustache and Malabuka, they know how to play well.
Absolutely. In that last game, though, Noms and Cringe decided not to contest Lavish, right? And so I think, at least for that game, they probably gained a lot of Danish Fortnite fans, right? They, their Twitter followers are going up for sure. And we'll see if they want to keep, that streak going and keep gaining all the Danish fans by not contesting once again. Because, yeah, they in theory could end the FNCS right now, right? Like, going into this early game, if they decide to contest and things don't quite go with Thomas, that's it, right? You think Malabuka and Mustache will be able to accumulate more than 2 points? I certainly do think that as well. So we'll see how it goes off spawn. If they are uncontested, though, which I think is what will happen, again, you just have an absolute corker of a game on your hands, man. I mean, are you not entertained? This is what FNCS is all about. Again, Malabuka and Thomas, two players that have been in this exact same position. a year ago, right? Chapter 4, Major 1, both of them playing together. We're in a 2-horse race with Tayson and Mustache, and they fell. They weren't able to complete the job and get that title. So now, now it's both of them against each other. Can one of them best the other? It's going to happen in this last game.
And what happened at the end as well? It was Malabuka who actually needed to hit that final shot all the way back when in Chapter 4 Season 1 in order to win that FNCS. So we're seeing something very similar with the same people involved. It's all about hitting that damage shot. It's all about making sure you can make the most of this last game. This is going to be really intense.
And boys, I'm just getting flashbacks now to standing on that stage with you back in Chapter 4 Season 1 as we watch that final endgame. Basically, with the Shockwave Harrows just zooming across the zone, it was neck and neck, and it was incredible Fortnite. And that is what we're about to see once more for Chapter 5, Season 1. Takata and Jacob PR, it's game number 12. Take it away.
Last game of Major 1, Jacob, and there's a 2-point difference between Malabuka Mustache and Thomas Queasy. But they were talking about it. The deciding factor here is what happens in the early game. Is Thomas HD and Queasy going to get contested once again? And if they do, will they be able to come out on top?
Yeah, that's going to be the big question we're asking ourselves. And with 2 points, that's less than elimination. That's less than half of an elimination overall. So when you see each other getting eliminations in the feed, it almost motivates you to have to push yourself that much further. Malabuka Mustache fighting history. Queasy Thomas fighting history. No matter what happens here in this FNCS, I'm just proud to say that history will be made.
Levin broke it down perfectly. This would be Queasy's 3rd FNCS title, each time with a new duo. And not only that, the new duo being their 1st FNCS title. And I think Thomas HD might be the most deserving one yet to secure that, being the world's, well, having the most top 10s in the world without yet securing that FNCS. So will they be able to do it? The question gets answered now.
Hopefully everybody has strapped themselves in, because this final game is going to be one wild ride, full of emotion, full of passion, and full of a chance to get that global championship spot and call yourself the best in all of the EU region. And we've called it yet again. No contestation coming out for Queasy and Thomas Fringe and Noms. Much respect to them.
We have a match, Jacob. We have a match, as Mustache and Malabuka have not been contested either throughout this whole day 1 and day 2 of Grand Finals. They have duos in the area, but none of them fighting their side of the drop. I'm looking to see if there's any changes in the last match, but it looks like it's going to be a similar situation. So it's going to be all about setting themselves up for that late game, securing as much loot, as much damage as possible, as now that Queasy and Thomas are not contested entirely, they will have to focus a bit more on getting those tags. Misha, Teeny are going to be the duo that's close by.
Gotta be careful, though, because Misha and Teeny are known to pull out some sneaky tricks and really camp on the way to other players' loot paths, but uncontested, Queasy Thomas, they're going to spend a ton of time in and around the buildings of Lavish Lair. So hopefully they just don't get too greedy for more loot than they can handle. Otherwise, that's when things will start to go sideways, and Queasy is moving over in that direction. He has to be careful. Luckily for him, he does hear some shots pop off. Chance to get some damage onto Teeny. But he has to be careful. There's so many dangerous players waiting in the wings all around this position. And with little builds left, it's a great decision for Queasy to disengage, because that would have been so bad for him to get caught out in the open.
Crash pads used, but it was worth it as they're back above. Misha, though, Teeny now left as a solo. It's Chapix, Tino. We're going to be capitalizing on this situation, but this is also huge for Queasy and Thomas HD, is all they really need to do here are take those pop shots. You can tell they have to kind of make a decision here, as in theory, they do have the advantage against these opponents. They just got out of an engagement. They most likely don't have a lot of shield, most likely do not have a lot of HP, but at the same time, they don't want to do anything too risky. They can't get eliminated so early on.
Yeah, that'll basically be the tournament done and over with. And you can see Queasy just watching them like a hawk. Vital information for him and Thomas about when they can actually go for that medallion. and the NPC to try to get that mythic loot. Mustache is going to find a huge treasure trove underneath after opening the vault. That double gold loot coming out of the vault. They get the gold hammer pump, a gold striker. They already have the mythic. If this is a game for Malibuca and Thomas off spawn, this is going to be the one where they could take it all.
You got to think what's on their mind right now, Jacob. Last match of the day, pressure on their shoulders. It all comes down to this from the qualifiers, semifinals, first day of grand finals, now the last match of the second day. The conclusion of Major 1. It all really comes down to this. We can even take a look at what Queasy's doing here, as he was able to pick up an Elim, and that's already 6 points, Jacob.
Yep. That gap is beginning to open up just a little bit. 2-point differential is now turned into 8-point lead for Queasy and Thomas. But another team that have earned the right to be in contention, a big win, uncontested Forecast Tower, moved themselves into 3rd place with 530 points. It might seem out of reach of that top 2, about 70, 80 points of separation, but a first place is worth 100 points and 6 points per elimination. So if we have the situation, Queasy, Thomas, Malibuca, Mustache go down early, it would be wide open for them to take it all.
Look, it's more than doable. Even Fadil and Reason at 500 points, basically. All it takes is one little hiccup from either duo in 1st and 2nd place here, and it will open up that shot for the others down below. Evi's Pablo by Hazy Hillside. No duos in sight, as all our players here continue to prep themselves for the late game.
Oof. Kieran Kudo probably saw this, and now that they're in contention, they said, nah. We'll give it up this game. You gave it to us last game. Pink and Vico land a serve a shot on Giannis. Flixie's already weak. They have a huge advantage in this fight. Just not sure they got the memo just yet. Still another team looting up the scraps that are left over towards Reckless Railways. And then obviously the tendency for Veno and Tayson to move over from Grand Glacier is going to be real in this position. But Giannis and Flixie have had enough. They're going to disengage on out, move back on over to Reckless Railways where they can heal up and regather some of that loot.
Pink and Vico now in control of the Forecast Tower. All the third parties they've had to go through, from Veno, Tayson, Janice, Flixie. As we look at our 4th place team, Reason and Vadil. 100 points, Jacob, you said it. That's what the Victory Royale can get you today, with 6 points per Elim. We've seen it happen before, these massive matches. If they want 1st place, that's all they need.
See, already they have the Forecast Tower in mind. There is one team positioned nearby, that's Hen and Vasquez. They have to be careful for it. They've been ready to fight for it more times than not throughout the weekend. It's a huge tool to their game plan, being able to make it far in some of these games. Boss has already spawned as well. Hen and Vasquez have control in terms of those pieces, but Vadil and Reason move in with ease to take down the boss, and now they'll be the ones with that reboot card to secure the 1st Forecast Tower.
Huge benefit to this match as they're able to get the forecast. They will be able to see those zones up ahead, and it's going to be crucial for their positioning as we look back at Sangil Marius, who did take one of the matches today. They're looking to kind of position themselves in a bit more of an elevated location. And for our previous match winners, Kiro and Kiduo, they've put themselves into a battle.
This is not the time. You just had a phenomenal game going down here. Kind of end a dream run, but it's Veno and Tayson. They have different plans in their mind if they want to move up the leaderboard. At 350 points, they got to give themselves a shot. And that's going to come with maybe a 15, 20 elimination victory royale. At least there's a condition for them to try to win. Slightly out of reach and very, very risky. But Tayson and Veno, if they want to go ahead and advance to the global championship here this weekend, it's really the only way to do it.
Tayson Veno currently in 16th place. Kiro Kiduo in 3rd. One of the duos here trying to hold on to their position. As you said it yourself, Jacob, top 2 do go to the global championships. So Kiduo and Kiro are just one position away from making it. But if Veno is able to get this knock, it could be the end for them. He hits the first shot. It's not going to be a crack. As he gets dropped down, 8 HP is what he's left with. The whole build fight is chopped down. And the pressure is on.
Disaster strikes. The interesting thing is they don't necessarily know how weak Veno actually is. Tayson's trying to move in on another angle, alleviate the pressure. But our team, one of our top teams that's in contention, Aqua Noah on the other side, going against Malibuca and Mustache, now cut in a hard position, slowly but surely trying to back up. Third parties coming in, spraying in their direction, coming from fencing fields. This is going to be tough for them to survive, especially against Aqua and Noah. But I think they've had enough. They realize who they're going up against, and they quickly disengage on out. A breath of fresh air has been had for Malibuca and Mustache.
Luckily enough, they did have the heals to recuperate the damage that was dealt. Now both looking healthy again. Still 3 shots in the chamber. Mustache with even more. They've done a good bit of damage, but they cannot get pushed here. They need to just focus on staying up.
Very, very scary for them momentarily. But luckily they have the luxury to kind of rotate back to where they were before, find any heals that were left behind, kind of get that HP back up. Thomas Queasy just checking some bushes, better safe than sorry. Even going for some cheeky shots into the distance. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And with the amount of sniper ammo that Thomas has, you know, you can kind of go for these Hail Marys.
I mean, we saw what Thomas did in a bush at the start of this tournament. But now if you could just do the same with the sniper rifle. He's known for hitting his shots. And if there's ever been a match where it's more important, the time is now. North side of the zone by Reckless, continuing to just look around. Once again, they were not contested, so they don't have that damage early on like they have had in the previous match. So it is a bit of a change up in their original game plan. Now at the combat cache section of the match, forecast towers have already been secured. Now it's for that extra loot and a bit of metal for Kiro and Kiruo. Making it out of the engagement against Tayson and Veno. Have again a shot at the trophy or even the global championship.
And good job for them to be able to not only like quickly react, but manage to be one of the first teams for their combat cache. We saw the shields gonna get regenerated, and they have some for later on in this game, especially with the way Storm Surge has been dealing damage to some of these teams. Pablo and Bevies almost uncontested over here towards Hazy Heel side. You said it yourself. Nobody in sight early on in the game. That's just because they found that first elimination and pushed that second player so far out of sight. It wasn't even on the mini-map. And now they hear another team.
No, pero ellos me están diciendo que me van a mandar un código a este correo.
Veno and Tayson are looking extra hungry in this last match. Time in and time again, trying to push, trying to find that either sniper shot or big pump shot to damage their opponents and give them that option to keep pushing. With 40 duos up, 80 players, we're getting closer and closer to the mid section of the game here as duos start rotating in, deciding, do we want to be more on that congested side? Do we want to go center? Do we want to stay up north?
Decisions. I think for everybody here in the lobby, they're beginning to feel the pressure of what this final game can do. And that's the interesting thing, is even if you're not at the top of the leaderboard in contention to win, there's so much money, thousands upon thousands of dollars up for grabs for each and every placing as you move up the leaderboard. So there's still so much to fight for, even if you're out of reach of that first place spot.
Mustache being quick to react as he was split up from Malibuca. Taking that sniper shot, unable to connect. Now this duo has history, Jacob. Entered the scene competing together in FNCS before splitting at the beginning of Chapter 4. Mustache picking up a title with Tayson. Malibuca yet to get his first. Will this be the time now? They've joined forces once again. Can they secure Malibuca's first FNCS finals? Can Merstash get his second? It's a duo I love to see. As now they go closer and closer to the Rift Island, diving right onto Seti. This match is everything.
Yeah, Cammy was already weak as well. That's why they took the Rift. Didn't want to really grab him time to heal. Now they're hot on the heels. Seti disengaged. Now it's Cammy's turn to try to drop down, which gives up all of Rift Island to Malibuca or Merstash if they so want it, but they want the elimination. Malibuca was able to find it onto Cammy as he fell down off of Loot Island. And now they have Seti in their line of sights, narrowly able to enter that rift to be able to escape, to live the tail to tail, and potentially get Cammy back in.
This is big. This is very big for Merstash and Malibuca. That elimination, not only elimination, the knockdown and the elimination is going to be a huge benefit to the damage that they needed. Queasy as well, with that elim they secured early on. Issue is, it wasn't even a knock. It was just one shot onto an opponent that was low. It gave them that 6 points, but it didn't give them as much damage as they would have liked. They have the loadout, they have the loot, but for Reason and Vadil, they also want more.
They're getting backed up into a tough spot. That's Swizzy and Putrick they see on the other side, trying to get aggressive while they can. They too are in a position with enough eliminations mixed in with our top two going down just a little bit early. They could pull out an underdog victory, especially with how well they've been playing. Swizzy Putrick, though, not really wanting to give up on this fight. Great defenses, drop slayers, not wanting to give the Video the shot that he's looking for.
Continuing to find a replace, continuing to find an angle. Putrick not letting it happen as the pickaxes come through. The zone will be closing here in just 7 seconds, and they'll be able to know where they have to rotate to. Reason you can see is staying above to keep a good line of sight on the players in the surrounding area. Zone has pulled close to them. They don't have to rotate a long ways to still be in the edge, as now they're not really forced to do anything too urgently.
No, they can literally just sit up there, gather information. They know teams below them, but now they can start to scout of which teams are positioned all around them on this island. So that way when they finally do make a rotation, maybe even in the next zone after that, it gets a pull, not in their favor. You know exactly where they want to rotate to. 451 points as we look forward. Another duo, Gearys and Hari. Position just away from everybody else outside of Ruined Wields. 451 points. Like I said, even for those that may not think they have a chance at that first place, there you can line their pockets with thousands upon thousands. Over $800,000 up for grabs today.
And once again, just a 2-point difference. The match started with a 2-point difference, and after a couple of eliminations, we're back at it once again. Third place, 530 points. Might seem far, but anything's possible with 100 points for that victory royale and 6 points per elimination. It really all depends on what happens to these top teams. Queasy and Thomas, we can actually see where they're at on the threshold now. They got that small tag for the elimination. It's put them 130 above, but they're going to need more.
Yeah, it's just kind of the double-edged sword of getting that elimination early. You're able to get the points, but especially since Team was kind of chased around before he finally went down, there's really not enough damage when it comes to Surge, so there's no real feeling of comfortability. But on the other side, Malibuca Merstash, a couple of well-placed sniper shots, beaming into players' boxes, even getting into a close engagement versus another team. They're well above the damage threshold on top of Loot Island with very few things to worry about, at least until the next zone pulls on over.
I mean, that knock on elimination was crucial for the position that they're in now. As Thomas HD and Queasy, the numbers getting lower and lower, but the stress levels are rising. Storm Surge is active. At any second now, they could go from 37 above to below as they need to find damage.
Yeah, it's just a tough situation. And the switch up, the big difference of being contested versus being uncontested. They're not able to get the early damage, whether they win, lose, or draw the fight against Noms and Cringe, because they're no longer there at Lavish Lair. And with not too many teams rotating in that direction, it's going to be hard for them to try to figure out where. They're kind of forced into certain positions. Even with a sniper, Thomas is not able to find anything to work with. Luckily for him, Queasy landing a couple of shots, 18 above. But this is not a feeling of comfortability for this duo that has their eyes set on that first place.
A miracle as now 223 above as players continue to get eliminated, opening up a bit of space, little breath of air for the duo as they can focus now on their rotate. You can even see all the players by the Rift Island that are going to be making use of those rifts, of those launch pads close by. It should even open up that option to take shots on them as they rotate in. But the first thing they have to focus on is making it to zone, as Thomas has lost a bit of shield. Not cracked yet, though.
Yeah, forced to stagger in that position. Those are the dangers of rotating on foot. Instead of taking those rifts, you see everybody that was positioned towards Loot Island making their way on over. Queasy and Thomas were looking like one of the first teams to try to make it to zone. Now they're going to be one of the last, and they fall below the damage threshold, so they have no other choice but to look back of zone where they see a fight going on. Now damage being dished out. They fall even further below. This is a nightmare of a situation for Queasy and Thomas to be in.
Forced to pop the floppers. Doesn't look like they have a lot of shields. Only thing helping them is that medallion. As now Grapple Blade's forced to get into zone. It's going to be Phaser and King holding them, but the snipe, it's hit by Thomas HD. Is it going to be enough to continue the pressure, though?
He hits the knock. He staggered, focused. That's Loki on the other side, along with his duo. Queasy's trying to move in on the other side, but nothing is given. Everything is earned in a situation like this. And I do believe King was able to get the revive back on up to Phaser. And Thomas Queasy still flirting with disaster when it comes to that Storm Surge.
The snipe to put them back into the match. Now, 60 above. That is what put them in the position they are in. Big pots now being put to good use. Floppers still available, as they have a bit more time to get the rest of the damage they need. And it looks like they're going to do it aggressively.
This is their chance right now. It's almost an all or nothing situation, but Queasy's dropped. Queasy's dropped. Phaser's able to get the knock. He's trying to save the day. Thomas with the backfire. Gets the knock back on the Phaser. This is everything for Queasy and Thomas. King is getting backed up little by little. Medallion not able to help out Thomas because it's in the inventory of Queasy. Trade for revive. But Kiro and Kaduo, they caused destruction. That was a huge blessing in disguise for Thomas and Queasy, because now we need to get this revive back on up.
Finishing off Phaser and King, as now Thomas and HD and Queasy are going to be able to heal up, but they're still 42 above. They need more damage. One more snipe shot is all Thomas needs to hit here. You can see the difference in the leaderboard is nothing between first and second. How are they still up, Jacob?
8 points. 8 points is the difference. I'm not sure how they're doing this, Takada, but they are making it work. Down on Surge against adversity. Talk about making history. Now we're making it entertaining. But Kiro and Kaduo are looking to play busters to everything that's going on. No placement points just yet. One more team still needs to go down. Aqua and Tayson, they're both going to be knocked for their respective teams as well.
Pressure is still on. Malabuka and Murstache looking healthier than ever, while Thomas HD and Queasy fight for their lives. 5 above. They have a bit more heals to hold off, but still, Storm Surge has been attacking him throughout a majority of this match. The curse in disguise of not being contested, just 41 above, but as the players begin to rotate, 8th zone has appeared. This is going to open up options to get that damage.
Yeah, the biggest thing that's keeping them alive is the constant hot potato with that medallion. No real shields to their name. You mentioned the floppers. 41 zone beginning to move in. This is where it's going to get tough for Queasy and Thomas. And as soon as he edits open, Thomas takes a ton of damage. Shields getting dropped. Medallion is in the inventory of Queasy, so he's not going to have time to get the shields on back. And now he falls below the damage threshold. Adversity at its finest, as Queasy remains the target of multiple players in the lobby.
Forced to pop a flopper up to 74. Medallion gets dropped. Thomas now will be able to recuperate shield once he picks this up. But it's Pablo. It's Bevies knocking on their door. Are they going to be able to get out? Grapple Blade comes through. Rotate continues.
55. Oh, it's not going to be lesson down to 2. Means Malabuka, Murstache, they found elimination along the way. Queasy is down. Queasy is down. It's all up to Thomas. 8 builds to his name. He's trying to get this elimination on the bull backside of zone, and he finds that elimination, but not many builds. But he gets bandages. Another pressure towards the front side. It's looking disastrous for Thomas as everybody begins to focus back. Thomas goes down. Malabuka and Murstache are still alive, and that is 2 or 3 more points due to placement. They might have just overtaken it right there.
All they need to do is stay up. The closest duo now, Kiro Kiduo, were in third place, creeping on behind Merstash and Malabuka. They need to find them in this late game. They need to eliminate them.
Just about one more placement, one more elimination will be official for Malabuka and Merstash to take this game. Kiro and Kadudo still waiting in the wings, 32 below. They still have a chance right now. They're still over 60, 70 points on the board in terms of placement if Malabuka and Merstash can go down.
Malabuka's cracked. The fresh is off. He gets knocked. It's all up to Merstash. This could be it. The comeback from Kiro and Kiduo. If Merstash goes down, he cannot let that happen.
I'm not even sure if a placement came in by the time Queasy Thomas went down. Not just yet. Merstash still needs to be able to clutch up. He's been in this situation before 1 year ago, and he was on the victory end along with Tayson of a close race. But now it's going to be put to the test yet again. He's under pressure, getting shot from different angles, 83 HP. He's well above the damage threshold, and he still finds a way to stay alive. Even dodging zone along the way, but he goes down. Merstash goes down, but he picked up more points in terms of placement.
It is all up to Kiro and Kiduo now. They need to secure the victory royale. They need to get eliminations, but with no builds to their name, they have to act fast.
There's a ton of placement points on the board, but they're going to need eliminations mixed in with that if they want to take it overall. Kiro and Kaduo, I don't even know if they know the situation that they're in right now.
They're still trying. Medkit's up. Duo partners went down. It's all up to Kiro. He has no materials. He's on the edge of zone. No more medkits now, as he might be able to pick up a bit of loot. It's even more medkits. The blessing as he grapples on in.
He didn't grab the medkits, though. He panicked. He went to the front of zone. Doesn't grab materials either. Kiro has to dig deep. He got 6 more teams, 7 more teams down worth of placement points. 581. He needs to be able to push himself over the edge, but there are so many teams in his path ready to stop him.
Now the rotate continues. Shot connects. The Vico eliminated. That's one on the board. Materials recuperated. Now ahead of zone.
This is legendary right now. He's earned this spot. First elimination has been found, but once again, running out of builds, running out of time. You see him looking all around, trying to look to the backside of the zone. Can he find anybody sneaking around? There are so many duos on top of that layer that he's at. Sato and Alex, they cut him off in front. Kiro finally goes down. He didn't get enough points.
Malabuka and Merstash, will they be able to hold on to the throne as Marius is finishing off this last match? Medkit popped, 3 elims on the board.
Tanguy got his first victory royale this weekend in FNCS Finals lobby. Looking to get more points and line their pockets with money, but Marius forced to drop down low. Shots coming from above. It's almost looking like a solo FNCS, but one duo, Noms and Cringe on the high ground.
And they're holding strong. Just 11, 14 HP for Marius. He's forced back into zone, but it's duos that are up against him. He needs a miracle for the 1 versus 2. Takes the first shot, hits a wall, blocked off, as now Marius is the only solo left.
He's just hiding the only nook cranny he can take, but he gets taken out. And let's say it on the low ground. Noms and Cringe switching up their drop spot in the last 2 games. They got 6 eliminations up until this point. What a way to end the game if they can somehow drop down to their opponent and finish it off. But multiple win conditions going around both of these teams. 3 medkits each. Sato getting tossed around, trying to play disruptor, but he's going to get dropped down. Noms and Cringe, they're the duo on the high ground, but Analyx forced to start the heal off early.
Both teams had 3 medkits. Andalex, though, the pressure's on him. Noms goes down with the knock. The heal-off continues now. Who is going to be able to outlive?
Andalex does have a little bit of lead in terms of those medkits, but we've seen multiple heals getting scattered around on some fallen foes. Andalex starting the last of his opportunity. Cringe, he finds another one. Almost fumbles the bag there, but the medkit is going to be popped. Andalex now has to turn the tides. He has to go on the hunt, sees an opponent, staring him in the eyes, trying to go for the piece control. Cancels the medkit. Andalex clutches up by taking down Cringe.
He does it. The medkit was found by Cringe, but it was not enough to hold on. Andalex securing that final shot for the final victory royale of the day.
And that race was so close to Kata. It was so close to the very end. Queasy, Thomas HD, Malabuka, Merstash, history repeating itself going into the final game with just 2 points. But we're all left waiting. Who won? That's the biggest question. We, of course, Andalex was able to clutch up in this game. He's probably lined himself with more money in his pockets, but who went to the Global Championship?
That's the big question. 2 teams from today are booking their tickets to the Global Championship, but only one team is securing that FNCS title. Andalex and Sado secured the victory royale for this last match of the day. But who is the duo that can secure that Axe of Champions? There's only 3 people that can let us know. Let's head right to them.
Thank you so much, Jacob, and to Carter for that fantastic casting throughout this season of Chapter 5. And boys, I was hearing from production just now that there were 2 points in it as we went into game number 12, and now there is just 1 point in it, because when you looked at our top 2 duos, neither of them had the game that they were hoping for, but one of them had the game that they needed. And it's so almost eerie to see some of these names coming back a year later. You have both Thomas HD and Malabuka looking to get their first ever major titles. But unfortunately for them now, one of them could do it. One of them sadly had to settle for second place. But who will be settling for second place again? The duo is divided now. They're divided by who has a major title. We're waiting for the leaderboard to come in. Levin, this is so exciting.
I mean, this is everything an FNCS should be about. EU never seems to disappoint. And I mean, just to see history rewriting itself with the same characters involved in such a special, special moment. I mean, yeah, we're sure we know both of those teams are going to go to the Global Championships now, but it's all about the bragging rights. It's all about winning that FNCS. We know how much Thomas wants it. We know how much Malabuka wants it. And that finish is just, you can't write it. You literally can't write it.
And that first title just means so much to both of these players. Because both of them, Malabuka and Thomas, have waited so long and will both be wanting it as much as the other. That game was incredible as well. Both teams just had it just so close at moments throughout that game. We saw Malabuka and Mustache trying to fight for that island against Cammy and Seti. They bullied them off it. That was on the edge of my seat for that. That was incredible. We saw, of course, Queasy and Thomas that were fighting against Phaser and King, and they both got knocked. Both teams individually got knocked. So we were on the edge of our seats again, trying to think, are they going to be able to get the revive? Is this the moment where they win it? Is this the moment where they lose it? We didn't know. We're about to find out.
We had our own watch party going on in the virtual green room, and you know what? We did not want to wait. You guys don't need to wait any longer. It's time to see the final leaderboard and who is raising the Axe of Champions. And we can now reveal that your champions of Chapter 5, Season 1 by 1 point, are winners of $170,000, the Axe of Champions, and a spot in Global Championships is Mustache and Malabuka, 649 points. This is a duo that show consistency throughout Chapter 5, Season 1, and they are your deserving champions, Mini Miner.
They say that good things come to those who wait, and oh boy, has Malabuka waited a long time for this very moment by a single point in a complete mirror to what we saw in Chapter 4, Season 1. Unfortunately for him, back then, he was on the receiving end of the loser's medal, the second place medal, but this time, he has made it happen for him, Levin, and I couldn't be more happy for these guys, and of course, Malabuka in particular.
This script is nuts. I mean, like, again, 1 point again. Look, Mustache and Malabuka, so deserving. When you look at EU history and the greatest duels you've ever had, they're always considered one of them, but they never had the title to really show for it. Now they do, in a new era of this duo, and I mean, Malabuka, he will know how Thomas feels right now. He was right there with him last year. And big commiserations to Thomas and Queasy. I mean, they fought so valiantly. At times, they felt like the most deserving team. But Malabuka and Mustache to fight the way they have fought, with the pressure that was on as well from some of their peers all throughout the week leading up to the final. And for them to deliver on that pressure and win like many said they should, just goes to show their greatness, how great they are. And I mean, that's the sign of a real champion.
It really is. And what's so exciting is this is a duo that's reunited. I imagine there are other Fortnite players around the world watching going, maybe I should go back to that duo I really enjoyed playing with. Now that we've got separate experience, now we've got learnings, and now we know how to become a champion, because Mersash has that experience. He's brought it back to his reunited partnership with Malibuca, and it's paid off dividends. But also, we have to give props to our second play, Queasy and Thomas HD, because they've also booked their spot in global championships. And this is a freshly formed duo, Queasy being one of the biggest brains in international competitive Fortnite, and Thomas HD just soaring to new heights, quite literally, with that grappling hook, showing the most dynamic sniping we've probably seen in this game, Mini Miner.
Yeah, we have. And I mean, we've given Thomas HD so much support and I suppose props this entire weekend for how incredible he's done. We can't understate how much Queasy has impacted this event as well. The way that the rotations have come through, the way that he's adapted as an individual and then brought that into a team has been really, really nice to see. We're so used to seeing Queasy up on high. And Levin, we broke it down earlier on in the season, how this duo have adapted to not only just be a high ground team, not only be a low ground team, just be able to perform at a high level. Also, whilst contested on day number 1 particularly, really, really great performance this team. They can't be too disappointed, but knowing both of these individuals, they no doubt will be.
I mean, they're going to be so chuffed with just how, you know, the season has gone for them. The pain of this final will definitely linger for some time. They're going to be going to globals, and well-deserved. I mean, you look back all the way in the trio days, Queasy, Thomas, and Anas teamed up, and what a team that was, and they loved playing with each other. And after trios ended, Queasy has always said that he would love to play with Thomas again. He loved playing with him. He's wanted to play with him for such a long time. And when the opportunity arises for them, they snatched at it. And it's just working out so well. It feels weird to say this, but when you actually look at what these guys represent in this lobby now, they're some of the oldest players in this lobby, right? Both of them 21-year-olds, you know, in the realm of Fortnite, people will be going, oldest, 11, 21, what are you on about? But in the world of Fortnite, a lot of kids in this lobby are just that kids, you know, teenagers. And these guys have been here for years now, performing when it matters every single time. The talent cannot be questioned, it can't be touched. These guys are class, and class is permanent.
Can I just almost sneakily look ahead to global championships? Because last year it was won by North Americans on European soil by Cooper and Miro. We do, of course, have the season 1 major finals for North America coming up later this evening, by the way, so watch out for those. I just am wondering for these two duos that have been confirmed for that competition, could one of them be bringing it home for EU, Mini Miner?
I mean, it'd be incredible to see. They're both really solid duos. We've seen the performance. Incredible, I suppose, would be the correct term to use there, because they've rocked our world this weekend, and they've shown that, as you mentioned, 11 class is most certainly permanent.
Well, class is permanent. And you know what? Our newly anointed last year's kid on the block is Malibuca, and we are delighted to be welcoming him to the broadcast right now. Malibuca, first of all, congratulations. How does it feel to finally win your first major?
I don't know. It feels amazing. Like, I was ready to get second again, but somehow we won. I don't know.
I mean, Mali, you know, you've been really at it for years. One of the best players ever before today to have never won one. You obviously played with Thomas last year, and you were in the exact same situation he was in. Talk about the journey from last year to now, and getting back with Mustache and how that's working out for you.
I mean, they are both great teammates. I just feel like I can do both, like, more plays with Mersash, since, like, I can understand, like, I can explain him more specifically stuff that I want to do. But, like, Thomas is also the GOAT, and I really feel bad for him for coming second again, but it is what it is, I guess.
It is what it is.
It is what it is, but you came out on top in this instance, so you can't be too sad about it. But of course, previously, you know, we knew you guys as a duo that had a little bit of inconsistencies in there in your guys' gameplay. Of course, you made end game, sometimes not so much. What's changed in your duo to make it more often than not into the end game in this weekend's tournament, and of course for the future events?
I didn't really understand the question. Sorry.
Yeah, so I was just saying, like, what have you changed? How have you changed from when you played with Mustache previously? What have you adjusted? What have you changed a little bit? How have you adapted and improved as a duo?
Okay, so I mean, we just basically like played it more safely. Like even the qualifiers and the upper bracket, everything we played more aggressive. Like we just played more for late game and made all 12 late games, I think. So I think we just played more safely.
Malibuka, you challenged Seti and Kami for Rift Island in game number 12 of a major when there were just 2 points separating you from Thomas and Queasy. I don't think that's playing it safe. Do you?
Yeah, but you know, sometimes you have to go for a risk to get a high reward, you know? So we had to do it.
I mean, you got the highest reward possible, mate. It doesn't get much higher than this. Yeah. It don't get much higher than this, man. I mean, look, you obviously did very well, and everybody is you know going to be happy. Do you have anything to say to your fans, people that have been supporting you for all these years to finally get one?
I don't know. Just keep believing in yourself. You can do whatever you want, and make sure to use code Malibuka.
I'm going to do both of those things, believe in myself and use code Malibuka. Apart from using code Malibuka, how can we find you online?
It's Malibuka fan on Twitter, Malibuka on Twitch and on YouTube.
Amazing, right? I need to watch you, mate. Learn how to play with the best of them. Congratulations. We're going to see you on LAN, and I'm hoping, obviously, we're going to see you in Season 2 of Chapter 5. Congratulations once more. Please do give our best to Mustache. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What a gracious, lovely Victor. I can just imagine interviewing him online when he raises the final trophy at the end of Chapter 5. Let's just wishful thinking on my part, okay? Listen, I'm all in on the EU, mate, and I had dreams. I had dreams for these young duos of Europe. But I love the fact that he was saying, we played it safe, but definitely safe 11 to Malibuka and Mustache. It's not my personal definition of safe. Is it yours?
Look, for that duo, their definition of safe has always been different to everybody else's. So no surprises there. And so, yeah, I mean, when it comes to their play style, it's what works for them. And I mean, if they didn't have the courage to make them kind of plays, they wouldn't be walking away with $170,000. So let's give them the credit there.
I think $170,000 is a lot of credit, Mini Miner.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I like that interview there. I like to talk about Thomas as well. Of course, he teamed with Thomas, of course, back in the last chapter. So it's nice that he sort of gave his commiserations there. And I mean, talking about the prize pool, that is massive for those guys. Of course, they'll be keeping one eye on the global championships now as they play out the rest of these majors, because that's certainly going to be a duo to look out for. I remember going into the Invitational, Mustache and Malibuka were the hot topic, and almost the poster boys of the EU region. It's like, oh, I don't want to be fighting those guys because they're the best in the region. So I want to see if they can continue that going to the globals.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think everybody's always watching to see where Malibuka and Mustache are at in a lobby, because, you know, if they're anywhere near you, they're going to be in for a ride, and not a good one. So hopefully we get to see more of their dominance all throughout the year. And then, of course, I'm sure we'll see our globals as well.
We've got 2 more majors for Chapter 5 and then those global championships. The competition has really only just begun. So make sure you stick with us. Levin, Mini Miner, also Jacob Takata, thank you so much. You guys should sign on to the North American competition. It's sure to be just as electrifying. Thank you so much, though, to the production who put this whole thing on, our incredible observing team as well, and of course, all the players. We couldn't do it without you. We simply wouldn't have a competition. That's just how esports works. Check out this cool outfit before we go. And once more, we'll see you on the battle bus. Good night.
That's my show. Burn up and see the goal. I'm gonna make it known. Bye.